Hey, Vay. Let's get this started. Let's get this started. Where can I go? Let me check some things out here. Let me check some things out. Let me check some things out here. Let me check some things out. Let me check a few things out. Let me check a few things out. Aye, okay, let's get this started. Gotta get this on. Alrighty. Alrighty. Just want to make sure everything is set to where it needs to be so we can get to what we need to get to. Come on, man. Hmm. Alright. Do the very basic stuff. This is gonna be a long one. Hopefully not, it's gonna be a whole situation here. Especially because we know everybody likes to get emotional about things. Especially when you don't get what you want. Let me make sure everything's set. Yeah, we should be good to go. I can go right here. Alright. Hey, let's see how this is gonna go. It's gonna be a whole thing. Alright. Let's get this started because I'm sure this is gonna be a whole long debate. It's gonna be here for a while, so I might as well strap in. Already know how this is gonna be because it's gonna be very controversial. Very controversial. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up some more stuff here because I want to make sure. That's yes. Okay, yes. Let's see. Yep. Uh-huh. Wait, what? Really? Hold on for a second. Yeah. All right. Give me a second here, guys, because this is gonna be a lot, man. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna be a lot. Let me see. I want to see how. Yeah. Okay. 3. And then here. Here they forced 2. I don't think they had any. Yeah. And then 5. Okay. All right, 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 all right. I think I am good to go. So let's get started here. Oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? What is good? What's going on, everybody? Hope. All right, seriously, give me a second, guys. Literally, as I'm getting ready to start my introduction, I get a phone call. Like, come on, seriously. As soon as, as soon as I start my introduction, I get a phone call. Like, that's just perfect timing. All right, let's try this again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Ravens flock. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Welcome, one and all. As you can see, the Ravens have made their decision. We have been talking about the head coaching situation for Baltimore for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, after 18 long years, the Ravens moved on from head coach John Harbaugh. They began their coaching search. They interviewed over 20 different candidates. They broke them down to a select few and ultimately made their choice. Now, I was surprised to see them ultimately get this done a little bit sooner rather than I thought. I thought they may have waited a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, I sat back and said if they feel like they got their guy, they feel like they're going to get him and they're not going to wait much longer. They clearly felt they had their guy. They didn't want to take a chance and wait. They brought him in. They got it done, and they've made their choice. So, Ravens flock, as you guys already know, the news is out. The Baltimore Ravens have officially hired former Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter to be their new head coach for this new era of Ravens football. Now, of course, this is a new head coach, but it is also an old face. It's also an old face in Baltimore because he used to be on this defensive coaching staff from 2017 to 2020. So this is a familiar face in the room. Obviously, this will be seen as another guy that is part of the Harbaugh coaching tree, although I don't know how much that's going to hold up. Then again, I don't know. It would be a Harbaugh coaching tree, but it wouldn't be John Harbaugh. It'd be more Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, just because he did more with Jim in Michigan and then in LA with the Chargers than he did here with the Ravens. Because I mean, it wasn't his defense. He was part of the defensive group. I was part of the defensive group. Yeah, it was 2017, so he was probably like at the end of the Dean Pease era and then the beginning of the Wink Martindale defensive era. So he was a part of some great defenses. I mean, we had a top 5 defense in 2 of those years. So a top 10, top 5 defense in 2 of those years. I believe 2018 is when we had the number 1 overall defense. So he was a part of the coaching staff when we had some of our best defenses. Other than, those moments with Wink Martindale where we had some of those great defenses early on. Other than that, the defenses post Wink Martindale haven't been great other than Mike Macdonald's defense in 2023. So when this guy was in the building, the Ravens still had a great defense. He was part of the coaching staff when they did have a great defense, a defense that you can trust, that can create turnovers, make stops, the whole 9 yards. So he was here, and then he went to Michigan, and then ended up, with the Chargers being their defensive coordinator. And with the Chargers, despite them not having a immense amount of talent defensively, he was able to coach that group to become a top 10 defense. That was one of the best defenses in football. One of the best defensive groups in football. That is what he did. And if you take a look at what they have on the roster and the level of talent they have on that defense, you can clearly see that defense overachieved. He maximized what he had and got the very best out of everybody on that defense. Odafe Oweh couldn't get a sack here this previous season. We trade him to the Chargers, and Jesse Minter made that dude look like a full-on beast. That dude in the playoff game, I think he had, 2 or 3 sacks and a strip, and a fumble. He had like 2 or 3 sacks, and one of those was a turnover because it was a strip fumble. I mean, this dude was a monster. This guy is going to get Odafe Oweh paid by somebody. I mean, it's crazy what he was able to do. It's crazy what he was able to do with that defense. The Ravens saw what he was capable of doing. They brought him in. They really liked what they saw from him. He did a fantastic job with the interview, and they didn't want to take a risk. They did not want to take a risk because the Raiders were a team that was definitely interested in trying to get Jesse Minter. This is one of the hottest commodities in the coaching aspect right now, because there's a lot of great candidates, but honestly, if you look at them, the two of the most hottest commodities right now, you would look at somebody like Jesse Minter and somebody like maybe a Klint Kubiak. This is one of the best coaching guys available, one of the hottest commodities for a potential head coach. So the Ravens got a guy that they wanted, got a guy that they believe in, and got a guy that they know because he used to be in this organization, in this locker room. So he knows what they're looking for. He understands the message. He understands the philosophy that they're looking for. And he understands what's to be expected because he knows what they're all about. He used to be here. So the Ravens make this decision to get Jesse Minter. The reaction has been exactly what you expected, but I will hold off on that for a second. I think it's fair for me to start with my own personal reaction and what I think about the hire for Jesse Minter. Well, I think it's pretty clear. If you've been here throughout my streams, I have been very clear with the direction that I feel the Ravens should take. I was not against it, but I also was leaning more towards this side. I wasn't against getting a veteran guy. I wasn't against getting a former head coach who had the experience like a Brian Flores. I wasn't against getting somebody like that. But I talked about this. When it comes to these head coaching positions in this era of football, I feel that these young hot commodities at offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators, those are the guys you got to look for. Guys that have not gotten that chance at a head coaching job, that build themselves up, the next generation of head coaches. Those are the guys you want to look to bring in. When we were talking about who would you want to replace Harbaugh with, I said, get me one of these young offensive coordinators or young defensive coordinators, one of these offensive-minded geniuses, one of these defensive-minded geniuses, and bring them to be my head coach. I don't mind the veteran head coach, like a Brian Flores that had experience, like Robert Saleh that had experience, but I would have preferred us getting one of these young commodities because the era of football is different. Things continue to change. And a lot of these young offensive and defensive coordinators that have been successful or found success, they understand what it takes to be successful, be it offense or defensively. They understand what it takes to be successful in this era of football. So I felt that you had to go get one of those young guys. Now, when it comes to this, I said that was my standing. Go get me one of the young hot commodities at offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I gave names. I was very specific here. If we're not going to go veteran, if we're going to go young offensive or defensive coordinator that's showcasing the signs of potentially being a great head coach, if we were going to go young, then I said this. There was only 2 candidates in my mind. I threw out a bunch of names, but there was only 2 candidates in my mind. One of those was Klint Kubiak. The other was Jesse Minter. I sat back here and said, If the Ravens are going to go offensive-minded with their head coach, you must get Klint Kubiak. If the focus and mindset is we want an offensive-minded head coach, you go and get Klint Kubiak. I don't care how long you got to wait, you go and get Klint Kubiak. If the mindset is we need a defensive-minded head coach, we want to bring back the level of force and authority the defense used to have in Baltimore, because the defense is the heartbeat of the franchise, the heartbeat of the organization. It's at its roots. We're looking for a defensive guy to bring back that Ravens defense that used to represent this city, represent this organization, represent this franchise. If you're looking for a defensive-minded head coach, there is not a better candidate out there right now than Jesse Minter. I made that very clear. If the Ravens are going to go offensive-minded, Klint Kubiak's your guy. If the Ravens are going to go defensive-minded, Jesse Minter's your guy. Whoever they chose in that aspect, I was going to be 100% fine and 100% with. If they went defensive-minded and said Jesse Minter, I'm 100% with the hire. If they go offensive-minded and pick Klint Kubiak, I'm saying straight up, 100%, I'm with it. It just depends on what the Ravens want to do. Do they want to go with a defensive-minded guy or an offensive-minded guy? The two names I've consistently thrown out, Klint Kubiak, Jesse Minter. Klint Kubiak, Jesse Minter. Klint Kubiak, Jesse Minter. Now, offensively, the only other person I talked about was potentially Mike McDaniel. Even though I wasn't high on Mike McDaniel from a head coaching position, I was more high on Mike McDaniel from an offensive coordinator position. But other than that, the only offensive-related guy I wanted, if the Ravens were going to go offensive-minded, would have been Klint Kubiak. But defensive-minded, I said I could see a Brian Flores. I said I could see a Robert Saleh. But in my opinion, the number one defensive guy you had to look for and get no matter what was Jesse Minter. The best candidate for a defensive-minded head coach this year was Jesse Minter. The best candidate for an offensive-minded head coach would be Klint Kubiak. You go and get the best based off of what you wanted. The Ravens wanted a defensive-minded head coach. They went with a defensive-minded head coach and picked the best option at defensive-minded head coach. I'm 100% for this hire because I have no problem with picking the very best of what you are looking for. If they would have picked Klint Kubiak, I would have been 100% for it. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are having problems with this. There's a mixed bag. Me personally, I don't have a problem with this. If it's Jesse Minter, I'm 100% for it because that's the best candidate from a defensive standpoint. If it's Klint Kubiak, I'm all for it because that's the best candidate from an offensive standpoint. Just give me the best. Giving me Robert Saleh would have made me pissed. It would have made me mad. I would sit back and say he can obviously do the job, but I didn't want Robert Saleh. I would have been fine with the Brian Flores. That wouldn't have been my first option. Jesse Minter was the guy for the defensive side. Klint Kubiak was the guy for the offensive side. Those were the two names I threw out all throughout this offseason. So get me one of those two. I'm fine with it 100%. They got their guy. Here's the problem that people have with this. It's a defensive guy. It's two things. One, it's a guy from the Harbaugh tree. Right now, everyone wants to get this. A lot of people in this fan base, at the end of the day, want to get as far away from Harbaugh as possible. So they don't want any of his disciples, which is funny when people say this because this fan base can't stop crying about how we could have Mike Macdonald. Did you forget Mike Macdonald's from the Harbaugh tree? Jesse Minter's from Jim Harbaugh's tree, not John. Mike Macdonald's from John Harbaugh's tree. Now, he was with both, obviously, but he started with John, went to Jim, and then went back to John. As for Jesse, he started with John, went with Jim, back to college, and then went back to where Jim was in the NFL. So it was John, Jim for Jesse, and then it was John, John for Mike Macdonald. So you cried for 2 years about Mike Macdonald saying we could have had him, forgetting that he is a John Harbaugh coach. He's from the John Harbaugh coaching tree. But now you're going to sit back and complain because you're getting a guy from the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree. So if you're going to complain about the Minter hire, then that means you got to stop crying about the Mike Macdonald one because he's from the John Harbaugh coaching tree, whereas Minter's more from the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree because he spent more time with Jim Harbaugh and has had more success with Jim Harbaugh. So anybody that wants to continue talking this whole, we could have had Mike Macdonald. If you're having that mindset and you're complaining about Jesse Minter, you're contradicting yourself. You just are. You're contradicting yourself. So that's the first thing that people are having problems with. He's from the hardball coaching tree, and everyone wants a clean, fresh start. We don't want anybody connected to the hardballs. Mike Macdonald's connected to the hardballs, and this team might be going to the Super Bowl and may win it all. It doesn't matter where you come from. At the end of the day, can you do the job effectively? Can you lead the group of men? Can you bring the very best out of the group? Mike Macdonald showed he can do that. This is year 2 of him being the head coach of Seattle, and he has a chance to take that team to the Super Bowl on Sunday. He has a chance to coach that team to the Super Bowl. Two years in, year 2 of being the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and he might be a coach in the Super Bowl after Sunday. And you guys wanted him here. He's from the hardball coaching tree. But you got a problem with Jesse Minter. I don't understand that aspect. But that's one of the things that people are complaining about. The second thing that people are complaining about, that they're absolutely complaining about, it's the number one thing they're complaining about. The Ravens, once again, choose to focus on the defensive side and picking a guy on the defensive side over picking a guy on the offensive side. You choose a defensive-minded head coach instead of an offensive-minded head coach that could have worked directly with Lamar. That is where a lot of people are having problems, specifically the Lamar fans, but that's where a lot of people are having problems because it's a thing here about consistency with the coaching. Jesse Minter being a defensive-minded head coach is going to be fantastic for the defense. He's going to revitalize this defense. But what does that mean for Lamar and the offense? Well, you can go get a great offensive coordinator, and I think that's going to be the most important thing. We'll talk about that a little later. You got to go get him a great offensive coordinator, and who knows? Jesse Minter, maybe he puts a great offensive coordinator there, and we'll be fine. But there won't be any consistency because here's the thing. Lamar's so damn great, and he's so damn talented that whoever ends up becoming the offensive coordinator of the Ravens is going to help lead a high-octane offense that's going to be highly successful, and there's a strong chance Lamar's going to win an MVP. He won an MVP with Greg Roman, had a historical offense. He won an MVP with Todd Monken, had a historical offense. Lamar could end up winning MVP with the next offensive coordinator and putting up another historical offense. That new offensive coordinator they end up bringing may only last 1 to 2 years in Baltimore before he ends up being yanked away for a new head coaching job. So now you get this new offensive guy that's successful with Lamar, but now he's going to be a head coach somewhere else because he's too successful with Lamar. And that's where people are having these issues. Because now with a defensive-minded head coach, you may end up having to continue to look for offensive coordinators as long as they're highly successful with Lamar Jackson in this offense. Because if they're too successful, somebody's going to want to pluck away that offensive mind and say, let me make him the next head coach. And of course, if you're an offensive coordinator, it'll be your dream. You would love to be a head coach of a football team. At some point, people are just going to continue to pluck away our offensive coordinators, and there won't be any continuity with the offense we have. And that is where a lot of the people are having a problem. If you had an offensive-minded head coach, then no matter who you bring in as offensive coordinator, you would be able to establish a high level of consistency no matter who the offensive coordinator is if you had an offensive-minded head coach, because the system that you bring in that's successful would be a system that's mostly managed by your offensive-minded head coach. And if someone else was to leave to go get a new head coaching job and you bring in a new offensive coordinator, you wouldn't have to change the foundation of the scheme because you already had it established from a new offensive-minded head coach. So people wanted it to be an offensive-minded head coach because we know how successful offensive coordinators have been under Lamar. It's ended up putting them in positions where they end up getting called to be a potential head coach. And then all of a sudden they're gone in like 2 or 3 years. So you don't get to have that continuity. And no one wants to watch Lamar continue to get new offensive coordinator every 2 to 3 years. You would like to have some stability within the offensive system that you run. Without an offensive-minded head coach, you don't get to have that. So that is where a lot of Lamar fans are frustrated. A lot of Ravens fans that wanted an offensive-minded guy, they're frustrated because we don't have that stability. It's not about, oh, we can bring in this coach that can maximize Lamar. Lamar has had success with any offensive coordinator. And if they bring in an elite offensive coordinator, he's going to be able to have so much success. And they're going to take the offense to even higher heights. But that new offensive coordinator will only be here for like 2 years. A lot of people wanted Clint. A lot of people wanted Clint. And I cannot lie to you. I wouldn't have minded if it's Clint. I did not have a preference here. I did not sit back and say I favor Clint over Jesse. I liked both, and I was fine with both. I just said whoever they wanted, whichever side they wanted to focus on, whether they wanted to bring back the defense or find a guy to work with Lamar on the offense, whatever they want to go with, that's what they should go with. If it's defensive-minded, give me Jesse Minter. If it's offensive-minded, give me Clint Kubiak. I didn't have a specific choice. It just depended on what the Ravens wanted to do and what direction the Ravens wanted to go when it came to head coach. Offensive-minded or defensive-minded. They went defensive-minded. You got the best guy from the defensive-minded aspect in Jesse Minter. So, again, it just depended on which side they go. So, I was indifferent from that. But a lot of people wanted Clint Kubiak. A lot of people wanted Lamar to have a stable, consistent, offensive-minded guy so that when we keep having to rotate every 2 to 3 years for a new offensive coordinator, we would still have that stability with the offense because we have an offensive-minded head coach. So that's the mindset of that's the reason as to why people wanted that. And I don't blame them. Me, at the end of the day, I'm all about the team. Of course, I want Lamar to get the best of the best, but I'm all about the team. We have been sitting back and complaining for the last 2 years as to how bad this defense is. Every single week this season, you've had Ravens fans watching that Seahawks defense well, not every single week, but a majority of the weeks, we've been seeing Ravens fans do nothing but sit back and just envy and constantly tweet about how monstrous Mike Macdonald's defense is in Seattle. Whenever Seattle's defense shuts anything down or plays great or just dominates, here comes another tweet. Man, we should have kept Mike Macdonald. For 2 years, Ravens flock has cried and complained and have been frustrated with how terrible this defense was. Frustrated, beyond frustrated with how horrible this defense has been under Zachary Orr. Some of the most embarrassing defense we've seen. Some of the most embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing levels of defense we've seen from a Ravens team. There's been a lot of complaining about the defense over the last 2 years. A lot of honestly, I think there's probably more complaining last year than this year because with this year, both the defense and the offense were not great. The offense was inconsistent. The offense, again, struggled in a lot of aspects here. But a lot of people look at that and say, well, Lamar missed time, and the offense, again, when your franchise quarterback's missing time, it's hard to build consistency. He's missed time, he's missed games, he's missed practices. There's reasons as to why the offense was not in sync the way they were last year. So a lot of people weren't too, heavily critical on this year's defense, even though it was poor, because of how the offense looked and the injuries with Lamar. But last year's defense, with that historical offense, with Lamar Jackson putting up 41-4, to have a defense that poor, to have a defense that embarrassing, to have a defense that shameful, it's embarrassing. It's absolutely pathetic. Shout out to She So Much. I appreciate the donation. Thank you so much for the $20 donation. No lies told. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the love and support. But again, I appreciate that again, She So Much. Thank you so much for the love and support. But we have sat back for 2 years, whining, crying, complaining, throwing pure hatred and vitriol at Zachary Orr because his defense can't stop a nosebleed. How many times have I come up here in the live stream and talked about the Ravens defense? They can't get to the quarterback. They can't tackle well. They can't cover. They struggle to stop the run. They don't do anything well on the defense. I keep talking about what they don't do. There were plenty of comments that said, damn, what does this defense actually do well? And I sat back and said, that's a good question. I don't know what they do well because they don't create turnovers. They don't get to the quarterback. They don't cover the pass well. They struggle to stop the run. They can't tackle well. What do they do? We sat back and watched this defense get belted in some embarrassing moments. We watched them have some of the biggest collapses we've ever seen. Top tier level choking performances. 3-6 at home with embarrassing defensive performances. We watched this defense fold 40-25. 40-25, 15-point lead with 4 minutes left. We watched them fold. We watched them fold and choke. That defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. That defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. We watched them, final game of the season, against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The second Kyle Hamilton went down, the defense dropped several meters. They couldn't stop a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers with no DK Metcalf. In a do-or-die situation with the season on the line, they could not stop an old, decrepit Aaron Rodgers with no DK Metcalf. This is the defense we've dealt with. This is the defense we've dealt with, man. This is the defense we've dealt with. This is the defense we've dealt with. Mentor's not it, bro. This was an EDC hire. Zachary or his barbecue chicken defense. Some things will cross over. Just watch. Dude, again, I already know how you guys are going to be. It doesn't matter who they pick. You guys were going to criticize and laugh. I know the same people that were talking about Klint Kubiak getting picked. There were already people saying Klint Kubiak's offense is not it. It ain't as sharp as you're trying to make it. It's more so them maximizing off of Mike Macdonald's defense. Had Klint Kubiak been picked, there would have been other, not you, but there would have been other people that have been laughing saying, you really think Klint Kubiak is going to make up for your trash defense? You really think he's going to take this offense to a high level? Y'all really don't understand that Klint Kubiak's offense isn't as great as you think. It's really just being led because of Mike Macdonald's defense being it. I've heard it all. If they would have chose Klint Kubiak, other people would have been saying it's not going to work out. They choose Jesse Minter, you're here saying it's not going to work out. There's not a single hire the Ravens could have picked that wouldn't have been criticized. No matter who they chose, no matter who they picked, there would have been a group of people that would have been excited, a group of people that would have been disappointed, and a group of people that would have been trash. Again, like I said, bro, it's the same thing. If it was Klint Kubiak that was chosen, people would say the offense is not going to be special. Ain't nothing going to change with Kubiak. At the end of the day, he was benefiting off of Mike Macdonald's offense. I've heard it all. So, again, I've heard it all. It's going to be the same story no matter what. It's going to be the same story. It's going to be the same story no matter what. So, at the end of the day, I already know how things are going to go. They choose Klint Kubiak. There would have been criticisms there as well. They'd be like, you choose an offensive-minded guy, that's cool, but it's not like he's anything special. I don't know why y'all hype. The number one thing I heard when it came to Klint Kubiak, I don't know why y'all hyping up Klint Kubiak. Y'all making it seem like he's the next Ben Johnson. He's not like that. He's actually a little overrated. He's being benefited by Mike Macdonald's defense. So it doesn't matter who they choose. There was going to be criticism no matter what. Whenever you're making a coaching decision, you're not going to satisfy everybody in the fan base. Pick what you feel is best for your group of players, for your quarterback, for your team, for your organization. Whatever you all feel is the best. Don't matter how everyone else on the outside feels. Whatever you feel is best for the organization, make that pick. Because at the end of the day, whoever you pick, there's going to be a group of people that like it, a group of people that don't, a group of people that are excited, and a group of people that are going to trash it. There's nothing you can do about it. Do you know the amount of times I heard people tell me Klint Kubiak is not Ben Johnson, and he's not going to be that in Baltimore if you take him? The amount of times I've heard people say that Klint Kubiak is benefiting from Mike Macdonald's aggressive defense. So it's the same thing. You pick Klint Kubiak, he's overrated. He was being benefited by Mike Macdonald's defense. You don't got Mike Macdonald's defense in Baltimore, so we're going to get to see how good Klint Kubiak is when that defense is giving up 35 points. I know how the whole story was going to be. If they would have picked Klint Kubiak, that would have been the same thing. He's no Ben Johnson. So, it's going to be the same thing. You wanted Klint Kubiak. There were a bunch of people that were saying Klint Kubiak's not Ben Johnson. He's overrated and being benefited by Mike Macdonald's defense. I want to Sean. Okay, I'm not wasting my time with you, bro. I'm not wasting my time with. I want a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, as if those guys are available. We're not wasting our time with that. You just hear the yap. I'm gonna let you keep yapping. If you would have given me an actual name that made sense, cool. I'm not here to listen to you yapping, saying Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan. Like either one of those guys are leaving their spots right now. You just hear the yap. So yeah, but you wanted Clint Kubiak. That's cool. I heard so many people try to tell me Clint Kubiak is no Ben Johnson. You're overrating him. He's benefiting off of Mike Macdonald's defense. So if the Ravens would have hired him, it would have been the same complaints here. Just like with Jesse Minter, they're complaining because he has the Harbaugh connections. Mike Macdonald had the Harbaugh connections. And again, I pointed this out here. Jesse Minter is a Jim Harbaugh coaching tree, not a John. He spent more time under Jim than John. Mike Macdonald is a John Harbaugh guy. He's under John Harbaugh's coaching tree. Mike Macdonald's under John Harbaugh's coaching tree, and he's on the verge of taking the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. Year 2 of being their head coach, he's on the verge of taking them to the Super Bowl. Chargers ain't still in the playoffs. That's not because of the defense. That's because of Justin Herbert and Greg Roman's trash offense. Jesse, let me put this out here right now. Jesse Minter's defense in 2 playoff games, this year and last year, in 2 playoff games, Jesse Minter's defense created 5 turnovers. Justin Herbert's turned the ball over 6 times in the 2 games. That's great, bro. Keep yapping. We're going to ignore you. I'm not giving you the time of day today. We're trying to actually talk about something serious. You're just here to yap. Like I said, I'm not wasting my time with you. You just continue to yap in the comment section. Yeah, in 2 playoff games, Jesse Minter's defense created 5 turnovers in those 2 playoff games. They're not the reason they lost. They lost to the Texans last year because Herbert turned the ball over 4 times. He threw 4 picks, as well as a pick 6. They turned the ball over at a high rate last year. They also turned the ball over at a relatively high rate this year. And even then, they created multiple turnovers against the New England Patriots offense. Defense was not the problem in those 2 losses. Like, they were not the problem. Not the problem at all. Not the problem at all. At the end of the day, if the team was going to go defensive-minded, Jesse Minter's your guy. If you wanted to go offensive-minded, Clint Kubiak was your guy. The franchise wanted to go defensive-minded, they picked Clint Kubiak. They picked Jesse Minter. If they wanted to go offensive-minded, they would have picked Clint Kubiak. So, like, legitimately, they could have gone either way. They chose defensive-minded, so they picked Jesse Minter. If they wanted to go offensive-minded, they would have picked Clint Kubiak. All right. So they made their choice in terms of what they wanted to get. At the end of the day, they went with the decision that they wanted to go with. That's just what I'm saying. They wanted to go with a defensive-minded guy. They went with it. At the end of the day, there's positive and negatives for both of it. The positive of getting a guy like Jesse Minter is you're going to be able to fix this defense, which, again, is something they're going to want to do. It's up to him now. He's not a special teams guy. He has to get this defense turned around. With the Chargers, we saw what you did. You did not have the most talented team defensively, and yet you were still a top 10 defense. Most importantly, your defense was able to make stops and create turnovers in the playoffs. If you can do that for this team here with this defense, that's going to be 100% fine. That's going to be 100% fine, man. You're able to take this defense, a defense that, by the way, has only created 2 turnovers in the Lamar Jackson era. If you're able to take this defense back into promise, turn them back into a legit top 10, maybe even a top 5 unit, get them back into the playoffs, and be able to create turnovers, you've put them in the best position to win. So on that one side, having him here brings that possibility. On the other side, we don't get to see an opportunity of Lamar being fully maximized. But at the same time, my thing is you have to be able to fix both sides. So my main focus now has to be getting the right offensive coordinator. Because I played this scenario out, and unfortunately, I don't think we can get him. Obviously, he hasn't officially signed, but I'm pretty sure it's at this point he's going to them if he doesn't get a head coaching job. I threw this out here. I sat back and said a perfect scenario for me would be to get Jesse Minter as a head coach and then give me Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator. That way we get the best of both worlds. You fix the defense up and you get a guy that can maximize Lamar and these other playmakers' abilities. That would be perfect. But Mike McDaniel is essentially going to the Chargers if he can't get a head coaching deal. So, I mean, he hasn't officially signed, but at that point, it's just people coping. I'm not gonna lie, if all of a sudden we hear he's out on the Chargers and he wants the Ravens offensive coaching job, by all means, I'm all for it. But it seems like he's already committed to going to the Chargers if he doesn't get a head coaching job. So that one is probably going to be put where it is. So I think, Nathan Shieldhouse would probably be one of the guys. So yeah, Mike McDaniel's already going to the Chargers. He hasn't officially signed, which is where all the cope is coming, or at least all the hope that he breaks that. He hasn't officially signed. So technically, if he just changes his mind, he doesn't have to go to the Chargers. But it's already been reported he's going to be the offensive coordinator of the Chargers if he doesn't get a head coaching role. He technically has not signed with the Chargers, but like I said, it's pretty much like, unless all of a sudden he just wakes up and says, you know what? Ravens got that offensive coordinator job wide open. I could just take that and see what I could do with Lamar and the crew. I don't need to be with it. Unless he just magically changes his mind, which, I mean, he could. Unless he magically changes his mind and decides to just cut that off with the Chargers and beam straight for Baltimore, I don't see that situation happening. Usually when these guys make their decisions, they kind of stick with it. So, yeah, I would assume that's ultimately going to be the case here in this aspect of Mike McDaniel being the potential offense coordinator for the Chargers if he can't get a head coaching job that he likes. So, again, I would probably go with, if you could get, for an offensive coordinator spot, I would look for, like, Nathan Shieldhouse. I think that would probably be the one you could go with. Because Shieldhouse, I think, what is he, the Rams? Is he the Rams passing coordinator? He's been doing just great over there with Sean McVay. And that would be a guy from the McVay tree if you could get him. So I would absolutely look at that. But yeah, a lot of people don't like this because they wanted an offensive-minded guy from Lamar. Which again, I've explained the positives with the I've explained the positives of having Jesse Minter for the most part, because you're going to get a guy that's going to fix up this defense and potentially put you in a position where Lamar and the offense don't have to score 30-plus points to win, both in the regular season and hopefully in the playoffs. On the flip side, you don't have that offensive mind to work with Lamar, and that means you're going to constantly be going through offensive coordinators every 2 to 3 years. And that does play a role in the aspect of frustration there. On the flip side, if they would have got Clint, they would have had that consistent aspect. That would have been a positive. You would have had that consistent aspect of a great offensive-minded guy to work with Lamar in the offense. But a potential downside is if he doesn't hit on the defensive coordinator, now you got an offense that can score all these points, but you got a defense that can't stop a nosebleed. So guess what you are? The Cincinnati Bengals. Like, if you take the offensive-minded guy, you boost up the offense as much as you can, but you potentially risk the defense being poor. If you get a defensive-minded guy, you retool the defense, but you risk not being able to maximize Lamar and the offensive weapons. Now, it depends on which one would you rather take. Honestly, like I said, both have its pros and cons. So it's not like, I would say it's relatively dead even, but if you've been watching how the playoffs have been going and you've seen how defense plays such a significant role in these wins, I can't lie to you, man. I can't lie to you. I would lean a little bit more, just based on how we're seeing these playoffs go and what I've seen from teams like Kansas City when they haven't had a great offense. Because one thing y'all seem to forget is that an offense is not going to be able to play at a high level every single week where they're just throwing up 40-plus point games. That's not always going to happen. Even the best of offenses have some tough weeks when you're going up against some of the best of defenses. There are going to be some slow weeks. And it would be nice to have a defense that can help you out. We've seen this with Cincinnati, having a high-octane offense with Burrow and Chase and Higgins. They could put up points in bunches, but they can't stop a nosebleed. And that's why they end up with the records they get. They end up missing the playoffs. Now, I don't think that would be the case with the Ravens. If they would have got Clint Kubiak, it would have taken the offense to a different level, and you would have to at least trust that Clint Kubiak would have gotten the right defensive mind to fix this defense. Just like we have to sit here now and trust that Jesse Minter would get the right offensive-minded guy to be able to put this defense in a good position. So like I'm saying, man, I think a guy that you could go for is definitely going to be Schierhaus. I think that's somebody you could definitely go for. I think what's his name? Is it Webb from the Broncos? I think he's the quarterback coach in Denver. I think that's another good one. Obviously, people have thrown around Kingsbury and people have thrown around Brady. Joe Brady. I'm not completely against that, but that wouldn't be the one I would want personally. I wouldn't want that for the most part. And my overall mindset in looking at this is looking at the overall aspect of the team. Because looking at this, I would love to be able to maximize Lamar. I would love to be able to maximize Lamar. That's what I would love. I would love to be able to maximize Lamar. But I'm all about the team game, man. I don't want this to be a situation where we have to over-rely on our offense to carry. If you're going to go defensive-minded, then you better give Lamar a damn good defense that's going to make sure that all we need is 20 points to win. I need 21 points a game from the offense to win. So that's my mindset of this aspect. If you're going to go defensive-minded, then they got to carry they got to carry more of the load. I'm not even going to say they got to carry their share of the load. If you're not going to maximize Lamar in the offense, this defense needs to average giving up 20 points or less. That's all I'm saying. I need this defense next year to average 20 points or less given up. Because if you're not going to give Lamar that offensive-minded guy, then the defense has to be top 5, and the defense has to be giving up like under 20 a game. To where we can walk into Sundays and all Lamar's offense got to do is score 21 to 24 points and we're going to win that way. I'm fine with that. I've seen Kansas City win Super Bowls with that formula. I've seen plenty of teams win Super Bowl with that formula. When you have that dominant defense that just makes everything so much easier for your offense. I'm cool for that. That's all I'm saying. If you're not going to maximize the aspect by giving Lamar this offensive-minded head coach, then the defense has to deliver. We saw Jesse Minter in the 2 years he was with the Chargers. He put together a top 10 defense with that lack of talent. And they had some talent, but they weren't the most talented team. With those group of guys, he put together a top 10 defense. Baltimore has some talent on their defense. This unit, you put some talent on this unit here. You give this man talent, they got to be top 5. Got to be top 5. So like I said, I've told you guys, me personally, I don't mind who they've picked. I don't have a problem with Jesse Minter. I put up 2 names. When you guys asked me, who are the guys that you would want the Ravens to pick? I gave you 2 names. I gave you Jesse Minter. I gave you Clint Kubiak. If they go offensive-minded, Clint Kubiak. If they go defensive-minded, Jesse Minter. It's just one or the other. Because the best choice for the offensive-minded side was Clint Kubiak. The best choice from the defensive-minded side was... the best choice from the offensive-minded side was Clint Kubiak. The best choice from the defensive side was Jesse Minter. They went with the best candidate from the defensive side. I'm fine with it. With the way the Ravens defense has played, with the way the Ravens defense has looked the last 2 years, it's been embarrassing to the franchise. Nobody takes pride in this defense. Nobody takes pride in this defense. Nobody fears this defense. Nobody respects this defense. And all people do when they walk into M&T Bank Stadium, they step on our shield and know we ain't going to do nothing about it. They disrespect our stadium because they know we don't got a defense that's going to punch them in the face. At the end of the day, if this guy is coming here, he needs to return this defense to form. I don't want top 10. I want top 5. If you're going to hire a defensive-minded guy, the expectations are immediately high. You have a lot of talent on this defense. I need this defense to return to form. I want a top 5 defensive unit next year. If you're not going to give Lamar the offensive-minded guy that everybody's crying for, then give me a defense that's going to hold them to under 20 points. Give me a defense that's going to hold them. If you're telling me Lamar, listen, that's how you make up for it. If he's not going to get an offensive-minded head coach that could potentially explode this offense to be averaging like 35, 40 points a game, if we're not going to get that, then give me a defensive-minded guy that's going to hold these opponents to under 20 points. So Lamar and the offense got to walk on the field and know they got to score 21 points every week to win a football game. That's just what I want. The best year in the Lamar Jackson era was 2023 when you had Mike Macdonald as the defensive coordinator. You had the Triple Crown defense. They were holding teams to under 20 points. So we knew on most Sundays, as long as we walked on the field and put up 21 plus points, we were going to win. Because we knew what the defense was going to do. If you're not going to give them that offensive-minded aspect, you need to be able to build this defense to hold opponents under 20 points. That's all I'm saying. That's where I look at this and say it balances out. If this guy can come in, Zach Rior is not going to be here, okay? Anyone that's bringing up Zach Rior is not going to be the defensive coordinator, okay? Just like Todd Monk is not going to be the offensive coordinator. Zach Rior is not going to be the defensive coordinator. Todd Monk is not going to be the offensive coordinator. A good chunk of this coaching staff is not even going to be here. Some of them are just going to be gone. The others, at the end of the day, are going to go with Harbaugh because apparently Harbaugh is going to pluck some of these people from this coaching staff. At the end of the day, Zach Rior is not going to be the defensive coordinator of this team next year. You guys are just waiting. Like, you want the announcement. We have officially released Zach Rior. We've officially released Todd Monken. They're not going to be here. Todd Monken is looking for a head coaching job right now. If he doesn't get it, he's going to the Giants with Harbaugh. Zach Rior is not going to be the defensive coordinator of this team next year. We already know. You don't have to continue to bring this up. Everyone keeps it fire away. He's not coming back. You don't have to worry. He's not going to be here next year. Next season, he will not be the defensive coordinator of this team. He won't. So you don't have to even bring up Zach Rior right now because he won't be. He won't be there. He won't be there. He just won't. So we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, my thing is, if you're going to go with a defensive-minded head coach, this has to even out. Because all the people that wanted the offensive-minded head coach right now, they don't like this move. Some of them really don't like this move. Others, they're okay with this move. They're fine with this move, but they're disappointed because they wanted an offensive-minded guy. So how do you compensate for that? If we're not going to get that offensive-minded guy that can help Lamar and the offense take it to another level consistently, then give me a defensive-minded guy that's going to hold opponents to under 20 a game. I want Lamar and the offense, no matter what they're going to look like next year, I want Lamar and the offense to be able to walk on the field next season and know they got to score 21 points a game to be able to win football games. And there'll be times where they need to score 18 points just to win a game. I want to get back to that time where we know that we just got to step foot on the field, score 3 offensive touchdowns, and we walking out with the dub. That's all I need to see. That's all I need to see. Seeing some comments here just briefly popping up, which I'll address the comments as a whole later on. You think the Bills get Kubiak? No. I think the guys that they're looking at right now is Joe Brady and Brian Daboll. Because Joe Brady, again, has a good relationship with Josh Allen. Brian Daboll was there when Josh Allen had some of the best years of his career. I think they want to pick somebody that works well with Josh and already knows their system. You know, they don't want to go away from everything that's happened. They want to stick with that system. They just feel like they need to shake things up. So I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Brady ends up being the head coach. I won't be surprised if Brian Daboll is the head coach. Those are the 2 guys I'm looking at right now that could be. I think there's another one. I can't remember the name, but he used to be teammates with Josh Allen, and that could also be another name. I can't remember his name right now. I'm blinking out on that. So, yeah. My thing is, if we're not going to get that off, and again, I'm fine with that. I know a lot of people want to see this maximized version of Lamar, but there has to be a balance in football. We've watched Mahomes win Super Bowls in years where he wasn't even the most offensive guys. They came to our house in 2023. The 2023 Kansas City Chiefs had no business winning the Super Bowl. They were not a high-octane offense, but they had an elite defense. They probably had the most terrifying defense that year. They weren't putting up a bunch of points, but they knew stepping foot on the field that they can win a majority of their football games if they can find a way to get to 20. All they had to do was get to 20. The 2023 Chiefs knew they were a terrible offense, All they have to do is get to 20 points and they're beating everybody. That's all they needed. All they needed was 20 points from Mahomes in that offense. As terrible as they were, as decrepit as they were, on most Sundays, all they needed was 20 points. In the playoffs, all they needed was 20 points until the Super Bowl. But you know what I mean. They knew what that defense was capable of. So if you're not going to give Lamar that offensive aspect, give me a defense that is going to hold units to under 20. Most importantly, give me a defense that's going to create turnovers. Because Jesse Minter's defense in 2 playoff games has generated 5 turnovers. Jesse Minter's defense in 2 playoff games has generated 5 turnovers. They generated more turnovers in 1 playoff game than our defense has in the Lamar Jackson era. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So are you giving Minter a chance without researching Minter's weakness? All coaches have weaknesses. You think Clint Kubiak is perfect? All coaches have weaknesses. All coaches have weaknesses. No matter who they hired, there was going to be weaknesses within their scheme, weaknesses that can be exploited. All coaches have weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. So again, just because it's not the guy you want doesn't mean the guy that you ultimately wanted is perfect and doesn't have weaknesses. All coaches have weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, they have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. That's just how it is in football. You can't find the perfect coach. Belichick's got 6 Super Bowl rings. He has weaknesses. They didn't win every year. Every coach is going to have weaknesses. I fully expect that there's weaknesses for Minter, there's weaknesses for Clint, there's weaknesses for everybody. All coaches have weaknesses. I'm not exactly sure are you going to give Minter a chance without researching his weaknesses? You were already dead set on Clint Kubiak being your guy. And you were already willing to have him be here without even checking his weaknesses. Andy Reid has weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. Every coach has a weakness. They have a good offense. They have weaknesses too. And you saw the score on Seahawks game. They have a good offense. Yeah, and Minter and the Chargers have a good defense. They were a top 10 defense. That doesn't mean that the Chargers defense under Minter didn't have weaknesses. And that doesn't mean the Seahawks offense under Clint have weaknesses. They have weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses. So again, your statement about saying, are you willing to give Minter a chance without researching the weaknesses? You were willing to have Clint be the guy 100%. You were willing to have him be the guy 100% while ignoring his weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. You think Minter tolerates Zay and Andrews' goofy fumbling? That's something he's going to have to address as head coach. I'm assuming the way he coaches his guys and the guys he's going to bring into the coaching staff, I'm assuming the way they're going to go about coaching these guys are going to be completely different. Like I said, there was a lot of leniency with how John Harbaugh was doing. The players really had it good under John Harbaugh because he's a player's coach and he was very lenient with a lot of things. That's why they had video games in the locker room. I think a lot of things are going to change. Even with Minter being a hardball guy, that doesn't mean he runs things the same way Harbaugh does. I think a lot of the things that they were able to do under Harbaugh, they're not going to be able to do under Minter. I think there will be changes because Minter is not Harbaugh. Just because he's under his coaching tree does not mean he's Harbaugh. John Harbaugh was under Andy Reid's coaching tree. That doesn't mean John Harbaugh is Andy Reid. Would you say that? Again, just because you're under the coaching tree of somebody does not automatically mean you're just like that person. Every coach is different. They bring in their own. Yeah, you are under someone's coaching tree. That doesn't mean you coach the same way as them. That doesn't mean you have the philosophy or mindset about going about things. Every coach can be different. Like I say, because if we're going to use that mindset, he's under the Harbaugh coaching tree. Then shouldn't the Harbaugh have been able to pick up something offensively being next to Andy Reid in Philadelphia? Harbaugh was in Andy Reid's coaching tree. Never picked up a lick of knowledge for the offensive standpoint. Everybody's different in how they coach. That's just how it is. Everybody's different in how they coach, man. Everybody's different in how they coach. If you've heard how Jesse Minter is coached, if you've heard how he's talked to players, if you've heard how the players themselves have spoke about him, you would understand the way he coaches and the way John Harbaugh coaches is completely different. That doesn't need to be explained. Go look at how he coaches the players and go look at how his players talk about him. It's entirely different to how people describe John Harbaugh. Just because he's part of the Harbaugh tree does not mean he coaches like the Harbaughs. Because if that was the case, John Harbaugh should have coached like Andy Reid, and he doesn't. Because he's a part of Andy Reid's coaching tree. But he didn't coach like that when he first came to Baltimore. Not even close to the way Andy Reid was. And to this day, I don't think I've seen any level of offensive scheme or offensive genius creativity from John Harbaugh in the 18 years of being here. That's just how it goes. Minter better be the right choice. The only way to see if he's the right choice is to see what he does with this team and how this team performs. Okay? At the end of the day, we don't know if it's going to be the right choice until at the end of the day, the Ravens believe he's the right choice for them. We, the fans, are not going to know if he's the right choice until next year when the players take the field. I don't know what the team's going to look like. I don't know how free agency is going to look like. And I don't know what changes that Jesse Minter is going to make. I don't know. We all don't know. But at the end of the day, they believe he's the right choice for them, which is why they hired him. We won't know if that's the right choice until the regular season come September. So we can't say anything about whether or not this is going to be the right choice or wrong choice. We don't know. For all we know, this could be the best choice and we end up winning the Super Bowl next year. Or this could be the worst choice and we miss the playoffs next year. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But the Ravens feel like they got the right guy. And based off of how everybody's talked about him, based off of how Chargers players and a lot of people have talked about him, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Biscotti and EDC gave him 5 years, so it seems like they believe him. We're going to find out, man. We're going to find out. I think it's nepotism. You are entirely free to your opinion. You are entirely free to your opinion. It's the guy you wanted didn't get picked. The guy you didn't want got picked. You are entirely free to your opinion. At the end of the day, we're going to find out come September. We're going to find out come September. We're going to find out come September. That's all I got to say. At the end of the day, we're going to find out come September. You are free to your opinion. If you don't want to give the guy a chance, that's fine. You don't have to. Let's see what the result is. At the end of the day, talk is cheap. I want results. Talk is cheap. I don't care about the side. I want results. This better be a top 5 defensive unit next year. I want to see this defense creating turnovers in the playoffs next year. Talk is cheap. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But at the end of the day, our opinions don't mean they're facts. You're entitled to your opinion. It doesn't mean what you're saying is factual. I'm entitled to my opinion. It doesn't mean what I'm saying is factual. We're going to find out if this is the guy that can do the job come September. And what he chooses to do, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. That's all. That's how it is. At the end of the day, when you make a coaching hire, that's all that it is. At the end of the day, when it comes to this game, when it comes to any game in sports, all the results are shown on the field, on the court, in the ring, wherever. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Fans are going to say whatever they want about a guy. And if he proves them wrong, they'll be the first ones to congratulate him and hype him up and say, that's my head coach. That's just what we do as fans. Mike Macdonald wasn't expected to succeed. Go back and look at the comments of so many people that were saying this was going to fail. Go back and look at the comments, man. Go back and look at the comments. Mike Macdonald, despite everything he did for the Ravens that 2023 year, he went there and so many people said moving off of Pete Carroll wasn't the right decision. Mike Macdonald had never proven himself to be a head coach. He's never coached at this level. What is he going to do? So many things. You can go back, look at the comments when they hired him in January of 2024. Go back and look at the comments of what people were saying. People weren't sure that he would be successful in Seattle, and then he was. He proved them wrong. We're not sure if Jesse Minter is going to be successful here with Baltimore, but he has the opportunity to prove us wrong. At the end of the day, fans are never going to be truly happy with everything their team does. But it's up to those guys to go prove us wrong. I'm a guy that's based off a result. I'm not going to make a full assessment based off of my personal feelings. I don't have to like the person, but I'm always here and always willing. I'm always here and attentive with what you do, and I'm always willing to change my mind if I'm wrong. Yeah, Baltimore wanted Mike Macdonald as their head coach. I'm talking about what people were saying about Seattle when they chose to move off of Pete Carroll and make Mike Macdonald their head coach. People didn't believe in him. People did not believe Mike Macdonald was going to turn the Seahawks into anything special. People said they made the wrong move moving off of Pete Carroll. Mike Macdonald had not proven himself as a head coach. He's not about to come here to Seattle and turn them into a gauntlet. Ravens fans sat back and said, they got a real one. We want him to be our head coach. People still said, Ravens fans just yapping. There's a huge difference between being a defensive coordinator and a head coach. At the end of the day, he doesn't just manage the defense, he manages everything. I heard all the things that people were saying when Macdonald went to Seattle. And there was some Seahawks fans that didn't believe in him. They changed their mind real quickly. And all of a sudden it went from, I'm not sure he could play this position, to, I'm so glad we finessed him from the Ravens. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. I'm always willing to give these guys a chance. I'm not high on a lot of guys, but I'm always willing to give them a chance. When people talk about offensive coordinator, perfect. Do you think Kingsbury would be a good fit for offensive coordinator? I'm not high on Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator of this team. That doesn't mean I'm not willing to give him a chance. If that's the move they go with, prove me wrong. I'm not high on Kingsbury being the offensive coordinator here. There's been reports, which I don't know if the reports are true or not. There's plenty of reports that say a lot of things, doesn't make it true. There are reports that apparently Lamar likes Kingsbury. There are reports that Lamar wants Cliff Kingsbury. There are reports out there. I don't know if those reports are true. If that's what he wants, give him what he wants. And I hope it works out. I'm personally not high on Kingsbury. I personally don't want him to be the offensive coordinator. I know he's been successful as an offensive coordinator. I just don't want him to be the offensive coordinator of this team. I know what he's done as offensive coordinator. Who would I prefer? Again, if Mike McDaniel wasn't already semi-committed to the Chargers, I would absolutely want him. If not that, let me get a Nathan Sheehan. That's not Sheehan. I'm Sheehouse. Sheelhouse. I said Sheehan. Give me a Nathan Sheelhouse. Give me Nathan Sheelhouse from the Rams. Give me Nathan Sheelhouse from the Rams. I'd prefer that. I'd prefer that because he'd be coming out of the Sean McVay tree. Give me Nathan Sheelhouse. I prefer that to be my offensive coordinator. A guy that's coming straight from the Sean McVay coaching tree. Nathan Sheelhouse would absolutely be the one that I would definitely want. He'd be coming from a Sean McVay coaching tree. And I think again, watching how the Rams offense operates, I think he'd be a nice fit here with our guys. I see what he does for Matthew Stafford in that offense. And at times makes things a lot simplistic for those guys. I think he'd be great with Lamar in this offense. I think Nathan would be a great addition. Again, if you can't get Mike McDaniel, I'd take Nathan. I would. If I can't get Mike, I'd take Nathan. Give me someone from the Sean McVay tree. I would take that absolutely 100% over Kingsbury. But if they choose Kingsbury, I wouldn't. At the end of the day, I'm not going to sit back and say it's a terrible hire. It's not going to work out. I'll admit I won't like it. I won't be 100% for it. But if that's the decision they make, I'm going to give the man an opportunity to prove me wrong. I wasn't the highest on Greg Roman when we hired him. I said he was our passing coordinator in 2017, and they promoted him. They moved off of Marty Mornhinweg and picked up Greg Roman. I wasn't the highest on Greg Roman, but I said he's going to have an opportunity to prove himself, and he did what he did in 2019. Gave the man credit for that, but I still wasn't high on him. He at least proved me wrong in 2019. I'm willing to give people chances. Prove me wrong. If Kingsbury's the hire, prove me wrong. So again, with Jesse Minter, he has the opportunity to prove everybody wrong. If you don't believe in Jesse Minter, let's see what he does with this defense next year. I watched what he did with the Chargers defense. He led that Chargers defense. He maximized the lack of talent because they're not a very talented unit. He maximized the talent he had on that Chargers defense and turned them into a top 10 unit. Go look at how poor that defense was when Brian Staley left. If the Browns get Clint, stop wasting my time with that. Nobody seems to want the Browns head coaching job right now. People are either denying or they're just flat out not taking the job. Why would Clint even want to go there when there's better options? Why, of all places, to choose Cleveland? They don't even know their quarterback situation right now. They don't even look like they're even close to being bought in by Shador. They don't know their quarterback situation at all. A place that actually would make sense if Clint wanted to go somewhere would be Buffalo. Straight up, would be Buffalo. If he wanted to go somewhere, it'd be Buffalo. But I don't know if Buffalo is looking for that. Again, it seems like from the reports, they're really high on Joe Brady. They're really high on Brian Dable. It just seems like those, because again, Josh Allen has great relationships with both those guys and had success with both those guys. So it feels like they're gonna go with one of those two guys maybe. But Clint. A lot of people think Clint's gonna end up going to Las Vegas, where he could get his own team and start this whole aspect here. You got the number one pick, so it's gonna be Mendoza, and he can start fresh from the top and build up a system in his own set of culture. I think that'd be pretty cool if he goes there. How do I feel about the hire? I like it. I'm fine with it. You got the best candidate for what you were looking for. If you're going to go defensive minded, Jesse Minter. If you're going to go offensive minded, Clint Kubiak. Browns will likely elevate Schwartz or unfortunately Pittsburgh. Dude, there's been a lot of links of Pittsburgh getting Mike McCarthy, which would make me laugh. I think they may. Where's Sean McDermott going? I have no clue. Couldn't tell you. I don't even know if anyone's actually inquired about Sean McDermott yet. Pittsburgh's not going to get Jim Schwartz. If anything, Cleveland's just going to do their... I don't even know if he wants that, but Cleveland at the end of the day may end up having to give this man a huge deal just to keep him here, because if no one else seems to want to take that job. People are they're actively curbing the Browns right now. So yeah. Ravens fans scared Kubiak will go to Buffalo. He's free to go wherever he wants. That doesn't really affect us for the most part. At the end of the day, we're trying to build something here. I wish him the best luck with Buffalo. Buffalo's offense isn't their problem. It's their defense. Not being able to make stops in crucial situations. And then again, offensively, I mean, hopefully he'd be able to bring out the best of that roster. They don't have a lot of talent from the receiving position. So, I mean, if you look at what Joe Brady's been doing, I think he's been able to maximize the level of talent they have offensively, because he's done what he can with the lack of talent. The problem with the Buffalo Bills isn't their offense. So getting a Kubiak's not going to change anything. Their issue is the lack of talent with the receiving core, but more so their defense. Defense can't seem to make stops in key situations when they need the defense to make stops. It's what's cost them year in and year out in the playoffs. Their defense is more of an issue than their offense. And then offensively, what they really just need is weapons. Josh Allen can work in any scheme. So again, getting Kubiak is not going to change things magically in Buffalo. What they need to fix is their defense. And even with that, there's some serious problems right now because their GM can't draft worth a damn. They're not even getting proper talent for the offense. So again, I'm not even sure. Even if Kubiak goes there, what's that going to do? It's going to make the offense even more lethal. Is that going to fix the defense? I don't know. Ah, boy. But yeah, in terms of this hire, again, I'm fine with it. I'm cool with it. You got the best guy for what you were looking for. If you wanted to go defensive-minded, you got the best guy there in Jesse Minter. He was the number one option if you're going to go defensive-minded. If you wanted to go offensive-minded, Clint Kubiak was your number one guy. Baltimore wanted to go defensive-minded. That's perfectly fine. Now, Jesse Minter, your first task is to absolutely nail this offensive coordinator hire. You got to nail it, dude. You've got to nail this offensive coordinator hire. You cannot afford to mess this up. You got to go get a great offensive coordinator for this offense. What should we draft in the first round? Well, it was up to me. Offense or defense? If it was up to me, neither. I would try to take that first round pick, create a mini package, and go get Max Crosby. That's what I would do. And then use the second round picks and everything past that on the offense. I would go get my game record right now in Max Crosby for the defense, because that would change the entire scope of this defense. And then I'm going to use my second round, my top picks past the first round. I'm going to use it to fix my offense. I need an offensive line to be fixed, and I would love to get another weapon for Lamar Jackson. That's just what I would do. If you're going to get a defensive-minded head coach, I think the draft should be heavily focused on investing in the offense. Then you use that first round pick to get and put a package together to go get a Max Crosby. That right there would be if you do that, you wouldn't need to do too much, bro. Max is old though. Again, he's still highly effective. And you don't have the money. You don't have the money right now because Lamar hasn't signed an extension. You can get the cap space if you give Lamar an extension. That would release a lot of cap space to where that deal could happen. And if you don't want, you're always free to go look at Trey Hendrickson. Try to sign him if you want to go do that. But Max Crosby's still playing at a high level. He's still a game wrecker. Still a game wrecker. Absolutely. And you put him on this defense where they don't have any real game records, and you get to see what Jesse Minter can do with that, it's a different conversation. You go get a game record that can wreck the game now. I don't know what Max Crosby is going to be in 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know, not 2, 3, 4, but like 3. I don't know. He's going to be like 3 to 5 years. But at least next year, and probably the next 2 to 3 years, maybe something special, man. May continue to be something special. He still plays the high level, still a game wrecker. And if this is a team that's trying to compete for a championship now, you need a game wrecker now. I don't need potential. I'm tired of potential. Max is injury prone, though. Then at that point, you're just drafting a guy, which means you're going to be based off of potential. Yeah, he's got injury issues. So does Trey Hendrickson. So at that point, you just want them to draft a defensive guy and hope the potential is there. Because at that point, that's what you're doing. Either you take a risk on a guy that has the potential upside to be a legitimate game wrecker and completely change the overall aspect of your defense, or you choose to draft a guy and hope his potential hits, which, based off of the history that we've seen recently with the Ravens, potential hasn't been hitting the way we thought it would be hitting. I'd take a chance. Even with the injuries, I will take a chance on the game wrecker today. That's just me. But I don't think EDC is going to do that. That's never been how he's operated. So he's probably going to keep that first-round pick, and he probably would use it on an offensive player just to try to make up for the fact that Ravens fans are going to complain about there not being enough offensive weapons for the Ravens. So we might end up seeing them draft a wide receiver with that first pick. Either a wide receiver or it's going to be a DB. It's going to be a wide receiver or a DB. It's going to be a wide receiver or a DB with that first-round pick if they don't choose to use it in the trade package. But I'll take a chance on the game wrecker, man. A guy that's going to change my defense immediately and make an impact, I'll take that. I don't know much of anything about Thomas. Who is Thomas Brown? I'm not going to lie. I don't know every single aspect. I don't know who Thomas Brown is. I might know of what he does. I don't know who Thomas Brown is. I'm not even going to lie. I'm not going to pretend that I know every single one of these candidates that you guys throw up. Thomas Brown would be good to... Oh, so he's the New England pass coordinator? I didn't know that. I'm going to be honest. I did not know he was the New England, the pass coordinator for the New England Patriots. I don't have an opinion because I don't know it about... I know about Webb with the Broncos because I watched a lot of the Broncos games. I've seen what he's done with Bo Nix. I know about Webb. I don't know anything about Thomas Brown, so I can't answer the question. I don't know. I don't know how effective he'd be. I really don't. EDC's not getting fired this year. He would have to fail again in the draft for Steve to fire him. I mean, that was Saquon in New York, and then he got out of there and went to Philly and has been healthy. Yeah, Saquon in New York was injury-prone. In fact, one of the things that people looked at Philadelphia and said they shouldn't go after Saquon is because he's injury-prone. And then when they signed him, Giants fans were saying Saquon was not going to do anything for them. He wasn't going to change life, and he's injury-prone, so he's not going to stay healthy. And yet he stayed healthy, balled out, and they won the Super Bowl. Ravens fans complain regardless. Dude, you're never going to make the fans happy. No matter what choice or what decision they make, like I said, no matter what choice or what decision they make, you're gonna be able to satisfy one fan, and then another fan's gonna be mad about it. You will never be able to fully satisfy a full fan base with a move. There will never be a decision the organization makes that completely satisfies an entire fan base. There's gonna be a group of people that like it and a group of people that don't like it. A group of people that are all for it and a group of people that are completely against it. That's just how it is. Find it hilarious that they would go defense even more when we have a defensive head coach. Oh, you're talking about in the draft? You find it hilarious if they did go defense even more when we have a defensive head coach? I mean, again, it's not like it would be a game record aspect. Again, like if they're gonna go defense, I don't want them. I'm not looking for them to go defense in this draft. I need them to rebuild this offensive line and get Lamar another weapon. That's where my focus would be. That's why I said I would try to go get a game wrecker. I think if they're going to fix this defense, I want that to be via free agency. Because we already know they always spend their free agency on the defense. So if that's going to be the case, let me go get a defensive game wrecker now via free agency in a trade, and then I'm going to use the draft to fix my offensive line and get Lamar a weapon. That's just what I would do. But again, it's up to EDC to do what he wants to do. We need to get higher draft picks. We don't trade up for draft picks. EDC's never done that. I think, dude, tune in tomorrow. You know what sucks? You know what's unfortunate? Tonight I was supposed to stream my predictions for the AFC and NFC championship game. This was supposed to be championship weekend predictions. I was gonna stream because my picks are in the championship game. In the NFC, I picked the Rams. In the AFC, I picked the Broncos. And I was gonna sit here and try to put together a huge motivational speech for freaking Stidham to pull it off in the AFC title game. I was gonna pull a game plan that man needs to follow. I can't do that stream today. We'll have to do it tomorrow because we gotta focus on this. I'm already heading home. I'm ready to talk about freaking Denver Broncos defense and what we gotta do. I'm here to talk about that. I can't even talk about that. I can't because I got bamboozled by the news that they signed Jesse Minter. I'm on my way home. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna rest, I'm gonna eat, and then I'm gonna sit back and we're gonna talk about the Denver Broncos defense and how they're gonna have to be the one to step up and play like 2015 and do all this other stuff. I need Stidham to just run the offense as simplistic as possible. I need quick, easy throw. I was coming up with all sorts of things I was gonna talk about, and then all of a sudden I get a notification from ESPN that the Ravens hired Jesse Minter, and I immediately knew we weren't gonna make our prediction videos today. So, or not videos, but live stream. We're gonna have to do that tomorrow. So. Tune in tomorrow where we have the live stream for championship weekend, and I explain why I have my picks. Which, by the way, again, I've been saying it the entire postseason. I picked the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl. I've been high on the Denver Broncos since early November. I've been telling people they are legit. They're not fraudulent. I've been speaking highly of the defense and showcasing exactly what they're doing well defensively and how great they've been. I've even been high on how effective they've been offensively and gave credit to Bo Nix, though I've had concerns with them. So I'm not moving off of my Super Bowl pick because Bo Nix is gone, because I already had concerns with Bo Nix in these type of situations. So at the end of the day, I'm going to put my trust in the team as a whole because I said the Broncos are a better overall team than the Patriots, but I have more trust in Drake May. That's what oh my God, the AFC Championship game. I could have really sat back and broke this down if it was Bo Nix versus Drake May. But again, I'm not gonna move off of my Broncos pick. And then for the NFC, I can't move off of my Rams pick. I said the Rams were gonna win the Super Bowl back in July, so I'm not moving off my pick. Like when they started putting together some of those pieces on defense, and when they got Davante Adams, I said, yeah, that's good enough. They were this close to beating the soon to be Super Bowl champs in the Philadelphia Eagles without Davante Adams on that offense. They were this close to beating the Eagles in their building in Philadelphia in the snow. This close to beating the Eagles. Now you added Davante Adams, they're going to get over the hump. Now they're in the NFC Championship game, and I can't sit back and change my pick. I said way back in July the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not moving off of that. I don't switch picks. I will go down with my pick. I'll go down with my pick no matter what happens. I want to switch my pick so bad because Bo Nix is gone. But I'm going to ride the wave here with Denver. And I'm saying, Sean Payton, I'm putting you to the fire, bro. This is your reputation on the line. I need that defense to pull a 2015 Broncos and carry well, see, Peyton Manning was a washed quarterback at that point that could barely throw, but he could still read a defense. Jarrett Stidham has not thrown a pass in 2 years in the NFL. So, like, I'm going to stick with my picks, bro. Yeah, no, Seahawks, everyone's picking the Seahawks. Everyone believes in the Seahawks defense. I'm sitting there and telling you this right now. I know what the Seahawks defense is fully capable of. The Rams have been effective. In both games, the Rams have been effective against the Seahawks defense. In both matchups, the Rams have been effective offensively against Seattle's defense. On the flip side, Sam Darnold has thrown 6 interceptions in 2 games against the Rams defense. Sam Darnold has strictly not played well against the defense. And if Sam Darnold goes out there and turns the ball over again against the Rams, it's going to be another tough situation. I've seen Matthew Stafford in this offense be able to move effectively against the Seahawks defense. I've seen Sam Darnold turn the ball over 6 times against the Rams defense. I have my reasons. I've also said the Seahawks are the one team I can fully see beating the Rams. I could fully see the Seahawks beating the Rams. That was the one team I said could beat the Rams and eliminate them in the playoffs. When I made my prediction, I said the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. The one team that could beat them in the postseason, it's not San Francisco, it's not Philadelphia. It's going to be the Seahawks. But again, I'm still sticking with the Rams. Sam Darnold is going to have to prove himself. This is the moment in time to prove himself. Again, Sam Darnold has turned the ball. 6 picks, 6 interceptions against the Rams. 2 games. The Rams have been able to put up points against the Seahawks defense in both games. In both games, the Rams offense was able to effectively move the ball against Seattle's defense and put points on the board. In both games, it's Matthew Stafford and that passing attack was able to move the ball effectively against the Seahawks defense. In both games, Sam Darnold turned the ball over multiple times. First game, he cost them. Second game, he was lucky because of a 2-point conversion. That was one of the craziest, if not the craziest 2-point conversion we've ever seen. If Sam Darnold comes out here and plays a clean game, Seattle's going to the Super Bowl. But if he starts turning the ball over, the Rams are going to get this. And the Rams played one hell of a defensive matchup against Chicago last week. So we're going to find out. We are going to find out, bro. We are going to find out. No, Sam Darnold getting a ring before Lamar Jackson is crazy. It's not, because it's a team game. Trent Dilfer got a ring. It's a team game. Nick Foles got a ring. It's a team game. I know we like to do the whole, this quarterback got a ring before that quarterback. Yeah, because it's a team game. It's not crazy. You put together a right team that can match the deficiencies and you ask your quarterback to not do too much, yeah, you can win a Super Bowl. You're asking Sam Darnold to not do too much. Sam Darnold's not carrying anything in Seattle. It's a team game. That Seattle defense is carrying Sam Darnold. It's a team game. That's just how it is. No one's going to sit back and be like, oh, man, Sam Darnold really carried his team to a Super Bowl. No, it's just his defense did what he needed to do. And Sam Darnold, if Sam Darnold was smart here, he would try not to do too much, take what the defense gives him, and make sure he doesn't turn the ball over. As long as he protects the football, they should be able to win this game. That's just how it is. Nick Foles did it by beating Tom Brady. Now, what Nick Foles did in the Super Bowl, that was impressive, because that defense did not show up to play in the Super Bowl. I will give you that. In the NFC title game in the division round, when the Eagles were in the NFC playoffs, yeah, that defense had to show up to help Nick Foles out. Even though the NFC title game, they blew him out, that defense was primarily responsible for that because they dominated. But in the Super Bowl, that Eagles defense did not show up. Nick Foles played the best game of his life. So I'm going to give that man credit. That's like saying Brian Scalabrine was better than was better than LeBron James back in 2009. That's true. Brian Scalabrine did get a ring before Lamar. I keep saying Lamar. Brian Scalabrine did get a ring before LeBron. Dude, a lot of people got a ring before LeBron in the 2000s. A lot of people got a ring before LeBron in the 2000s. Dude, Trent Dilfer won a ring while Dan Marino hasn't. Football is a team game. Yeah, it's a team sport. Football is a team sport. But yeah, Brian Scalabrine did get a ring before LeBron because he was on that 2008. He's on that 2008 Celtics team. So yeah, a lot of people got a ring before LeBron in the 2000s. Actually, LeBron didn't even get a ring in the 2000s. He didn't get a ring until 2012. So yeah, Jason Terry got a ring before. Ooh, Jason Terry got a ring before LeBron, and he did it by beating LeBron, and he outplayed LeBron in the finals. That's a damn shame, bro. I still remember when he hit that 3 over LeBron in Game 5. Damn. Really blew that. Who's Brian Scalabrine? Don't worry about it, bro. It's before your time. Just know he's the GOAT. Brian Scalabrine is the GOAT. Don't worry about it, man. He's before your time. He's before your time. Would I like Jonathan Gannon as defensive coordinator? Honestly, I don't really. It really doesn't matter who they're going to put a defensive coordinator. I think a lot of people suspect they're going to probably put more of a developmental guy at that defensive coordinator position. Someone that could be effective in the job, but someone that's not really going to be the primary play caller because Jesse Minter is. So, yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. He did start that round. Like I said, Nick Foles does get a good chunk of credit for how he played. He definitely gets a good chunk of credit. It was, again, a lot of it has to do with the defense being as dominant as they were, but that man still gets a good chunk of credit because he played fantastic during that run. He came in and just didn't skip a beat and then did his thing in the playoffs and then balled out in the Super Bowl. But that's just how it be. That's just how it be sometimes, bro. It's a team game, man. It's a team game. Everybody's got to show up, man. I'm 25. I remember LeBron as a Cav the first time. You've never heard of Brian Scalabrine? You've never seen the memes of Brian Scalabrine being the GOAT. You think you've never seen Brian Scalabrine in the Celtics jersey? Dang. Oh my God, you don't know the tale of Brian Scalabrine. let's just say he was a former Celtics player, man. Okay, he was a former Celtics player. Let's just put it like that. Um, he didn't really do much of anything, but he won the championship. Also, he had his moment in the '09 playoffs against the Chicago Bulls, which to this day is still like that's still one of the greatest playoff series of all time. The Bulls Celtics 2009 first round matchup is still remains to be one of the greatest playoff series of all time because like it went to 7 games. They went to overtime in like 4 of the 7 games. Ben Gordon turned into like Kobe Bryant for like 2 weeks. Like, oh my god, that series was crazy. That was like a young D Rose. Maybe it was a rookie D Rose too. That was like a young D Rose in the playoffs with Ben Gordon and the crew, and Ben Gordon just could not be guarded. Oh my goodness, bro. Ben Gordon could not be guarded. Oh my god. Ben Gordon was hitting all sorts of crazy threes. He was hitting mid-range shots in front. Like there had 2-3 defenders on this dude. Basically, in that series, if you didn't foul Ben Gordon, he was just gonna score. He's just gonna score. If you did not guard Ben Gordon in the 2009 playoffs, like if you're a Celtics player, you did not guard Ben Gordon, man. He was just gonna score, man. Did you watch because see like I didn't. I knew Pierce, Garnett, Rondo, etc. Did you know about some of the role players? Did you watch the 2009 playoffs? Do you remember Eddie House being on that team? Do you remember Big Baby Davis? Do you think Marlo will be on the roster next season? I don't know. I don't know who's gonna be. I don't know if he's gonna be on the roster. I don't know if Roquan Smith's gonna be here. Actually, well, Roquan's still on the contract, so he probably will be. I don't know if Linderbaum's gonna be on the roster next year. I don't know if Isaiah Likely will be here. Well, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna sign him. I wish they would, but I don't think they're going to. But I don't know if he's gonna be here. I don't know if a lot of these guys are gonna be here. I don't know. I honestly don't. Whatever decisions they make is the decisions they make, and we'll talk about it when it's covered. But I don't know. I don't know. Man, I gotta go back and rewatch that playoff series, man. Ben Gordon was so damn clutch in that playoff series, man. He just ran out of gas. Oh, you were more into football, yeah. So you wouldn't remember you really wouldn't remember a lot of 2000s basketball then. You wouldn't remember a lot about 2000s basketball. It was definitely the weakest era of basketball. It was like the weakest era of basketball or the lowest scoring offensive era of basketball since the 70s. But yeah, 2000s basketball was pretty nasty. A lot of low scoring. What was it? What was I think one of the worst or one of the most unappealing finals we've ever had was 2005, where it was Spurs and was it 2005? I think it was 2005. Was it 2005 with the Spurs and New Jersey Nets? Was it 2005 or was it 2003? Let me see this right now. It might have been. Let me see. Hold on. It might have been 2003. 2003. Yeah, it was 2003. The one of the worst or one of the least appealing finals that we had was in the 2000s, bro. 2003 NBA Finals, Spurs and New Jersey Nets. Come on, bro. Like, ain't nobody trying to watch that, bro. Does anybody go like if you go back to the 2000s and you're looking for finals that you would watch? You'd go back and watch the '06 finals between the Heat and the Mavericks. People still have that being controversial to this day because of the free throws that D Wade got, which again, go back and look at the tape. A lot of those were fouls. They just could not stay in front of D Wade. D Wade, when he had his knees first coming into the league, there was a reason why he was nicknamed Flash. When he first came into the league, man, they couldn't stay in front of him. But they'll say, yeah, they were just giving him the free throws. No, he was getting fouled every single time because nobody could stay in front of him. They literally could not guard him. But yeah, 2003, man. Oh man, jeez, 2003 was terrible. Like oh yeah, '07 was also terrible. It was LeBron's first trip to the finals, but I mean, it was a weak Cavs team versus the Spurs that dominated them in 4 games. oh God, man. Like, I'm really thinking 2003 was not fun. 2007 was not fun. 2008 had the vibes because it was Lakers versus Celtics, but the Celtics beat the crap out of them in Game 6. 2009 was a waste of a year. It should have been Cavs, but the LeBron and the Cavs couldn't get it done. I'm glad that Dwight Howard took the Orlando Magic to the finals to ruin everybody's fun, and they got beaten 5. So 2009 5-game series wasn't even competitive. 2008 was relatively competitive, but the Celtics blew them out in Game 6. 2007 garbage. 2006 controversial. Still love it. I watched the Miami Heat. I became a fan of them like 2 years before they won the championship, so I was cool with it. 2005 was Pistons, and I think that was what it was. 2005 was Pistons and Spurs. And that was a pretty tough physical game that could have gone either way. Spurs were able to win it, but that was a game that was a series that really could have gone any way. And the Pistons were very close to winning that series. 2004, they upset the Lakers, so that was a beatdown. 2003, nobody cares about New Jersey Nets. New Jersey Nets versus Spurs. Nobody cared about that. 2002 and 2001 and 2000, it didn't matter who the Lakers were going up against. They smacked all 3 of them. Yeah, I said Detroit. Yeah, 2004. Lakers and Pistons. I said 2004 Lakers and Pistons. That was the one where, yeah, they pulled off the upset. And after that, Shaq was gone. Let's see here. Still uncertainty with the Ravens. Yeah, there's going to be uncertainties with the Ravens because people aren't fully sure if this is the right pick. But at the end of the day, there was always going to be uncertainty with the Ravens. If they would have picked Clint Kubiak, there would have been uncertainty. There's not a single candidate out there that would have made everybody feel 100% confident. There was always going to be questions and uncertainties with the Ravens. They haven't finished building this up. We got to see who they get as their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. They got to build this coaching staff up. A lot of work to do. You got your head coach, but they're far from done. And no matter who they hired as head coach, it was going to be questionable at the end of the day. Because there are going to be a group of people that liked it and a group of people that didn't like it. Who do I think has a better shot? Please stop pretending the Heat don't have a chance to get Giannis. We've had a chance to get every superstar since 2018. We ain't got him. So the Heat don't have a chance. The answer is the Lakers. Lakers aren't getting him. Neither one is getting Giannis. But, let's stop putting the Heat in these conversations. Because every single time we hear the Heat are in conversation trying to get this guy or that guy, and they never get him. You're in conversation for KD. You're in conversation for Donovan Mitchell. You're in conversation for Kyrie. You don't get him. I'm tired of hearing that from Pat Riley, bro. I don't want to hear that anymore. Yeah, that Cavs team was terrible. Yeah, LeBron carried that Cavs team to the finals that year. Eesh. Terrible year. 2016 was fun. Cavs beating Warriors. 2016 was an interesting year. In the Eastern Conference, everybody knew the Cavs were going to win. Toronto didn't have a chance. Nobody had a chance that year. So the Eastern Conference sucked in 2016. The Western Conference was competitive, but for the most part, it was really just 2 teams that you were focused on, the Thunder and the Warriors. And you knew those 2 teams would clash in the conference finals, which they did. And OKC blew a 3-1 lead. I'll never forget, I was at my cousin's graduation. I was watching Game 6 on my phone, and I was left speechless as the Thunder choked that game away. And I could not believe they did so. And I knew they were cooked for Game 7 because they were going back to Golden State, and they didn't have a chance in hell at winning that game, in my opinion. So it is what it is. And then, obviously, 3-1 comeback in the finals. So that was crazy for the most part. 2019 NBA Finals was a blast. It was very interesting. Sucked that injuries kind of take away from the aspect because when KD came back for Game 5, that first quarter alone, it just looked like the Warriors were about to take over this series. But it is what it is. Last year was tragic with the Pacers losing to the Thunder in Game... Well, they lost them in Game 7. They lost Halliburton, so that hurt. That hurt majorly, and they were dead after that. But I got over it after Indiana just beat Miami in the Natty. Good for Indiana to win the national championship. Sounds like you're downplaying the 2000s. No, I'm not saying the 2000s were bad. I'm just saying that it was it probably had some of the most, I would say it probably has some of the most unmemorable final series we've seen. It doesn't mean that it was a bad decade. Also, it's one of the lowest scoring decades we've had since the 70s. That does have to be emphasized. The 2000s offense was some of the lowest we've seen since the 70s offense in the NBA. The offense took a huge dip from the 90s. Between the 90s and 2000s, it took a major dip. So we just didn't have again, it's not terrible, but we didn't have a lot of those series that we wanted to be. Because from like 2000 to 2002, you just knew Kobe and Shaq were just going to win the games. 2004 is great. That series stands out because it's a massive upset that nobody saw coming. 2003, nobody cared about the New Jersey Nets. I'm sorry. Nobody cared about the New Jersey Nets. And them going up against the Spurs, there was no competition for the Spurs that year. Like, what are we going to do with that, bro? What are we going to do with that? And then, like I said, 2004 was great. So 2004 is the first year that stands out in the 2000s because of the massive upset. 2005, Spurs and Pistons was a damn good series. I like that one. So I'll put that up there with 2004. 2006, controversial. Still a good series. Controversial. 2007, garbage. 2008, pretty good because it's Lakers and Celtics. Celtics blew them out in Game 6, but pretty good. 2009, waste of time. Waste of time. You knew Dwight Howard was not beating Kobe that year. You just knew. All right. So in the 2000s, you really got 3 years that stood out. 3 years that really stood out. If we want to compare that to the 2010s, there were some years where the 2010s was just terrible, but that was a tail end of the 2010s. Look at 2010 itself. 2010, we had one of the best playoff series we've seen in recent history. Celtics Lakers in 2010. Lakers win Game 7 at home to go to win back-to-back championships. Kobe gets his 5th ring, which is the most crucial ring of his career. So 2010, we started off with a banger. 2011 remains to be the best upset we've ever seen in arguably the greatest run we've ever seen by a superstar player. Dirk Nowitzki's 2011 run, literally pulling off the upsets of upsets by beating the Miami Heat with LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh. So 2010 and 2011 were already bangers. 2012 was a good series. It went to 5 games, but those 5 games were a lot closer between OKC and Miami. But I don't think people feel it hits as much. 2013 was a banger. You saw the clutchest shot in NBA history. Ray Allen's 3 in Game 6. And then Game 7 was a banger. Like, 2013 is still a great series. Even though there was some blowouts in like games 4 and 5. There was some blowouts here and there in the series in some of those games. But games 1, I think games 1, 2, 6, and 7 are the ones that really stand out for the most part. But that was still a great series. So you got 2010, 2011, and 2013 at the very least that stand out. 2014, terrible, trash. It was a complete wash. Spurs smoked the Heat. 2014 sucked. 2015, people couldn't get into 2015 because Kyrie and Kevin Love got hurt. Still went to 6, but everyone knew LeBron was doing another carry job. It felt like 2007 all over again. 2016, it's up there with 2011 and 2010 and 2013. So you've already got 4 years in the 2010s that are already great. 2017, garbage. 2018, garbage. 2019, cool. So you saw for most of the decade, they was hooping. Compared to the 2010s, you got 3. You got 3, man. You got 3. And even if you want to go look at the runs in the 90s with the Bulls, those series were still great. They just never went to 7. Some of those series were bad. But you look at 1998, you still look at that matchup between the Jazz and the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls' last ride with Michael Jordan and the crew. That was still a great series that nearly went to 7. Michael Jordan, his final shot of his career as a Chicago Bull, that was a great series. In 93, they went to 6 games. Now, that one was a bit nasty in how it went, but they went to 6 games with Charles Barkley's Suns. That was still a pretty underrated series. There was some series there, here and there in the 90s with the Bulls that wasn't always the best. Like, again, 98 was definitely the better series compared to 97 because the Jazz and the Bulls faced off in 97 and 98, but 98 was a better series than 97. And then 96, I mean, it was easy for them. That was a layup. So, like, I would say 98 and 94, or 98 and 93, that stood out. And then you got the 2 years when Jordan retired, when Hakeem and the Rockets won. Those were some pretty good series in the finals. Or at least some pretty decent series in the finals. Like the 90s had some good quality stuff too. Just comparing it to the 2. And then the 80s, of course, it's just you get the rivalry with Magic and Larry Bird. So, like, again, the era was physical up into the 2000s. There was still some physicality in the 2000s. it started to die out. Physicality in basketball started to die in the 2010s. They were still playing physical basketball in the 2000s. It died in the 2010s at some point, especially when they started opening things up in the three-point era. And then, of course, as things continue to progress, more and more talent starts to come in, and they find different ways to score. The 80s had the most talent, in my opinion, and every year a handful of teams have a chance, like the Celtics, 76ers, Lakers, Pistons, etc. That's fair. That's fair. No one likes this new era of basketball. This new era of basketball, again, is it's always been controversial to people, just based off of how people look at the offense, but more so how people look at the level of defense being played and how defense isn't as aggressive as it used to be. Now, you still get a team like OKC that plays that level of aggressive defense, but people don't like that they play that way, specifically because no one else is allowed to get away with what they get away with. They play that way, and the refs don't call it fairly. You try to play the way they play, you end up getting a whistle called on you, and that's one of the things people have against OKC. It just seems like sometimes they get away with things defensively that other teams can't get away with. It is what it is. Anyway, we kind of pivoted to basketball here. I don't really have much to say for the most part. I've pretty much aired out my overall take about Jesse Minter to the Ravens. Like I said, the Ravens made the best choice for what they wanted. If the Ravens were going to go defensive-minded, you get a defensive-minded guy. If the Ravens were going to go offensive-minded, you get an offensive-minded guy. You get the best offensive-minded guy. If they're going to go defensive-minded, Jesse Minter was the best option. If they're going to go offensive-minded, Klint Kubiak was the best option. They chose. Yeah, we'll see how that goes for the Bills. They chose the guy they wanted that best fit what they were looking for. That's just how it is. If the Baltimore doesn't get a Lombardi with Lamar, I'll be pissed. Well, you bring in a guy to fix the defense. If he could turn this defense into a top 5 unit that can hold teams to under 20 and create turnovers in the playoffs, nobody can complain, no matter what the offense is looking like, because you got Lamar and Derrick Henry. The Heat have not changed a bit, especially in the front office, and they're not going to change anytime soon. So we're just wasting our time in believing that they're going to make some sort of major chance or major splash for a guy like Giannis. They're not doing that. They're just not. But, yeah, the Ravens made the best choice in what they wanted. If you're going to get a defensive-minded guy, Jesse Minter was the best choice. If you're going to get an offensive-minded guy, Klint Kubiak was the best choice. They wanted to go defensive side. Jesse Minter was the best choice. So, you get Jesse Minter. At the end of the day, we're going to find out. We are going to find out, man. We are going to find out. We are going to find out. My whole thing is he's got to get the offensive coordinator right. I think a lot of people, if you end up getting someone like a Nathan Sheehouse, if you get him, I think that's going to calm down a lot of the offensive-minded guys. You get somebody like that. If you got someone like a Mike McDaniel, that was my dream, man. Kia, that was my dream as well. My dream was, let's get Jesse Minter to fix the defense and then Mike McDaniel to take this offense to a new level. If we would have gotten that, I don't think anybody would complain. I don't believe Lamar was in on the coaching hire at all. Again, we're not going to know until we get an assessment about that. Maybe we will get a report that Lamar was in on this and he actually liked the hire, or maybe we'll get a report that he wasn't involved. I don't know. Again, the last time we had heard from these guys, Steve had said that EDC was constantly in contact with Lamar after every single interview. So he was talking with Lamar and texting Lamar after every interview. And then and Steve also said that when it came to the second round coaching hire, as they whittled them down to the finalists, he was going to come down here, and he offered Lamar an invitation to come down here alongside him and assess this. I have no idea if any of this happened. I have no idea what this process went to. I have no idea if Lamar even had a say. I don't know what happened. We're not going to know unless we get any information. Maybe we get the information. If you want to know about that, feel free to go reach out to some of the media guys. Feel free to go ask Jeff Zebrick. Ask Jeff right now to try to bring that question up if Lamar had any involvement with this overall say. Was he part of the final interviews or this interview process with Jesse Minter? That's just what I got to say. I don't know if he was involved. I don't know at all. So We would have to hope the media axes EDC about this, acts if Lamar was involved. That's just how it is. Why is EDC still here? Because Steve still believes in him. I don't know. He still believes in them. He still believes in them. Either that or he suspects that Harbaugh had a lot more say in how the draft went than EDC did. I don't know. I don't know. EDC's still here because he still believes he's doing a good job as a GM. He still believes he's doing a good job at drafting. Or maybe he just sat back and said all the hits that we got was all EDC and all the misses was because John Harbaugh wanted the guy. I don't know. So yeah. But EDC is definitely on a tight leash because if they can't get it done or he can't fix the trenches, Steve will fire him. If he can fire Harbaugh, he can fire EDC. So EDC is on the clock to make this work. Otherwise, he's gone out the door in 2 years, maybe even less than that. So yeah, he better fix the trenches as soon as possible. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much all I have to say here. Oh man, we clicked this to about 2 hours here. It's not bad, not bad. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say here in regards to this coaching hire for now. I feel like this is a conversation we're going to keep going as we see the overall choices that they make with the coaching staff. We also have to wait. We also have to wait until the press conference. I think the press conference, the introductory press conference for Jesse Minter is going to happen next Thursday. I would have to confirm that. I think I saw that from Jeff. We'll have to see next Thursday about that, man. We'll have to see. But let me see here. Let me see here. I think Jeff did say something about this. Let's see. Did Jeff say anything about this? I don't see anything here yet, but I do believe the press conference is. I do believe the press conference is going to be sometime next week. So we'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Like I said, I'm fine. I'm 100% fine with the Minter pick. I like it because you pick the best guy for the side. If you're going to go defensive-minded, Jesse Minter was the right guy. If you're going to go offensive-minded, Clint Kubiak was the right guy. They chose the right guy. All throughout the offseason, I said two names to you guys. Jesse Minter or Clint Kubiak. Those were the two names I brought up. They picked one of the two. I can't be mad at that. They chose defensively. A lot of people are not going to be happy with that, which is why Jesse Minter has to nail the offensive coordinator position. If he gets the right offensive coordinator that's going to help this offense play at an elite level, nobody's going to be concerned because now he can put his focus towards fixing the defense and making sure they're a top 10 unit next year, if not top 5. If he could turn this unit into a legit top 10, top 5 unit that can hold people to under 20 and create turnovers in the playoffs, not a soul is going to have a problem with Jesse Minter moving forward. It's all about proving yourself. I want to see results. He's got the job now. It's time to see results. Jesse, it's time to see results. You got the job. Congratulations. Welcome to Baltimore. The 4th head coach in franchise history. You're going to be here for some time. Go prove yourself. Go and prove yourself. You have the opportunity to prove yourself. I want to see results. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Baltimore. Well, welcome back to Baltimore. Now officially as a head coach because you were here in Baltimore before. So welcome officially as the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Welcome along. Welcome aboard. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's time to go to work. I want to see results with this defense. I want to see results next season. This better be a top 5 to 10 defensive unit that can create turnovers in the regular season and in the playoffs and get to the quarterback. They also had 8 sacks, by the way. 5 takeaways in 2 playoff games and 8 sacks. Just to give you an understanding of what his defense has been able to do in 2 playoff games. If that can translate to our defense in the playoffs, we can get over the hump, for sure. We can absolutely get over the hump. We can absolutely get over the hump. If that translates to our defense, we can absolutely get over the hump. No question. We can absolutely get over the hump. 5 sacks in 2 playoff games for Jesse Minter's defense. 5 takeaways in 2 playoff games for Jesse Minter. If that can translate to this Baltimore defense, we got a chance. All of the blame's going on EDC if Jesse Minter fails. Well, I'm not going to sit here and think about the man failing. I would hope he would succeed. I don't want to talk about the ifs. I don't want to talk about potential failures with Jesse Minter. You bring in a new head coach, the optimism is supposed to be high. This is coming from me, one of the most pessimistic Ravens content creators on this damn platform. But this is a new guy. I'm always willing to be fair and give him a chance. I'm not here to talk about the negative aspect. Show me results. I'm not going to prop you up like you're the guy. Even if they would have hired Clint Kubiak, I wouldn't be jumping for joy. I want to see you prove results. I don't care about who they hire. I want to see results. So I'm all about results. I'm happy that they selected Jesse Minter. I would have been happy if they would have selected Clint Kubiak, but I want results. I want results. I'm not here to start talking about potential blame that may be placed on somebody if somebody fails. I want to see results. Failure's not an option. You brought him here for a reason. Failure's not an option. So I'm not even going to sit here and focus on potential failure that may happen in a hypothetical situation. Failure is not an option. That's not an option. It's not. Failure is not an option. You were already dealing with failure with Harbaugh, which is why you made the change. You were dealing with a lot of failure from your longtime head coach in recent years. You made the change. You didn't make this change just to bring in another guy that's going to fail for you. Failure is not an option. He has to deliver. Turn this defense around, turn them into a top 10 unit that can create turnovers and get to the quarterback in the playoffs, and let's go win the championship. Let's go Ravens, baby. Glad we got a defensive head coach. Time to go to work on them trenches. We gonna see what happens. We gonna see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to see what happens in the coming months. But in terms of the coming days and potentially coming weeks, we're going to see what type of coaching staff Jesse Minter can put together. The offensive coordinator position has to be key, and it has to hit, and it has to be a guy that we can trust and believe he's going to be able to maximize Lamar Jackson and those offensive weapons. So we're going to have to see what type of coaching staff Jesse Minter puts together. But at the end of the day, I'm going to see what he does. I'm going to give him the opportunity. I'm going to give him the chance. And I'm going to be lenient and patient. But I want to see results. I want to see results. I'm all about results. I can be fair. I can be objective. I can be patient with you. But I want to see results. So, Jesse, show me what you can do. Show me you can turn this defense around and bring them back to the level of dominance that they used to be. Show me you can help this team get over the hump, because they didn't move over Harbaugh to bring in another guy that can't get this team over the hump. Show me you can get over the hump. Mike McDaniel legitimately may take the Seahawks to the Super Bowl next week. Not next week. Today's Friday? 48 hours, right? Less than 48 hours, because it's 10 o'clock now. In less than 48 hours, Mike McDaniel may have taken, or may end up taking, the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. In less than 48 hours, the Seahawks could be in the Super Bowl. I want results now. You got an MVP quarterback that's going to be a future Hall of Famer, and you got a future Hall of Fame back. I want results now. Turn that defense into a top 10 or a top 5 unit that can hold opponents to under 20 points and generate turnovers in the playoffs. That's what I want. I want a top 5 to 10 defense that can create takeaways in the playoffs and hold opponents to under 20 points. Give me that defense now. I want to see that this season. Anything less is unacceptable. You chose a defensive-minded guy over an offensive-minded guy. You've got to be able to deliver that at least. So we'll see what happens. With that being said, guys, I am very tired. I came straight from work to do this. Didn't really eat. I just wanted to make sure we got this out. So I came straight from work, man. Ah, man. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. But yeah, I'm very tired. I am going to end things here. I also got a couple things I got to take care of relatively soon, so I'm going to get that out the way. But yeah. Jesse Minter, welcome to the Ravens. This will not be the end of the topic of discussion. We will continue to talk about Jesse Minter all throughout the offseason as he continues to make his moves. We're going to see who he picks as his offensive coordinator, as a defensive coordinator. We'll see what type of staff he brings in to replace the coaching staff that's gone. And we will see what sort of impact Jesse Minter's going to have in the coming months as we get to like March and April and May, as we get closer to OTAs and all this other stuff. I want to see how he's going to implement his coaching philosophy onto this roster of guys. So we'll see how things develop, and we'll be here to cover it and talk about it. But for me, that's all I got to say today, man. I'm going to take a look at some more of these comments because I was actually keeping up and reading the comments relatively towards the end. But I do want to take a look at some of these comments here before I ultimately call it a night. Right. So yeah, I'm going to take a look at some of these comments here as we get ready to call it a night. I would stay a little bit longer, but I actually have something to do afterwards, so I ultimately have to head on out. So, I'm going to take a look at some of these comments. All right, I'm actually have to step up here because some reason YouTube don't want me to pull up my comments the old-fashioned way. So instead, we got a bunch of comments here. I'm going to go through a good chunk of these and then call it a day in terms of some of these that I'm seeing. Lamar Jackson's talent is getting wasted. That is debatable because we have not given him an offensive-minded head coach or an elite offensive coordinator. That is fair to say. But in this situation, they chose to go defense because they want to fix their defense. And if you can give Lamar a top 5 defense that can hold opponents to under 20 points and finally create turnovers in the playoffs, that should be enough for Lamar and this offense to get the job done in the postseason. It's a team game after all. Both sides need to execute. Both sides have to execute. Lamar wanted Klint Kubiak. That has not been confirmed. That is more so an assumption you're making. We don't know what Lamar wanted. We don't. Lamar did not come out and say, dang, I want Klint Kubiak. We should go get him. And then all of a sudden after they get Jesse Minter, man, I wanted Klint Kubiak. We didn't get the guy. Lamar did not come out and say any of that. This is just something that we're just kind of we're just making the assumption. This is just making an assumption based off of the aspect of what, a lot of people want. A lot of people want Klint Kubiak. That does not mean that was what Lamar wanted. We don't know what Lamar wanted. We don't even know if he was involved in this aspect here. Between Baltimore and Buffalo, I trust the Ravens more as far as Steve Bisciotti over Terry Pegula. You're not wrong about that. A harsh punishment for a Ravens fan is being forced to watch the 2023 AFC Championship game in its entirety because we held them to 17 when McDonald and still lost. We'll always regret letting him leave. You'll always have that statement, but if Jesse Minter brings back the defense, you won't have to talk about McDonald anymore. I've been saying for years we need to get back to that defense wins championship culture we had. This was a good hire. I agree. I want to see this defense get back to being a feared unit that people respected and knew was going to be one of the toughest to deal with. We had that in 2023 and people respected that defense, and then McDonald was gone and we lost that. We need to regain that. We need to regain that for sure. The Ravens are not number one run defense and number one pass defense. I don't want it. Were the Ravens the number one run defense and pass defense when Mike McDonald was here? I think, okay, they led the league in takeaways. They led the league in sacks. And they were the number one scoring defense in football. That's how they got the Triple Crown. I don't know if they were the number one run or pass defense, but I think they were in the top 10 as well. I'm guessing Mike McDaniel went to the Chargers even knowing Jesse Minter was leaving. Probably. Good for him. How you feel about the hire? I'm fine with it. Again, I don't have a problem with it. I like it. I'm cool with it. Offensive-minded head coach would have been better. A lot of people say that. Don't disagree with you. But again, I think you could have been fine with either or. Steelers aren't getting Kubiak. I wish they aren't interesting for them, sadly. It is what it is. Bills might get Klint. I don't think that's where they're going. I don't see that being the direction. Even if they get Klint, good for them. That's not going to fix their defense. I think the offense will be fine. Defense is killed out this season. Yeah, defense was so terrible, bro. Defense was so terrible. I think the Ravens organization are very high on Minter. Yeah, that's why they hired him. I just didn't want y'all to get Mike McDaniels. Thank God. Mike McDaniels is going to the Chargers, so there's nothing we can do about that. Let's see. Again, having a problem with having a problem with Minter because he's part of the Harbaugh tree. I can't be on that same boat with you guys because you also love Mike McDonald, and McDonald's a part of the coaching tree. So if you think McDonald's bad, who has a chance to take a team to Super Bowl in less than 48 hours, then again, if you are on McDonald's train but you're having problems with Minter, that's just contradicting yourself. That means you didn't want McDonald at all. Bills are screwed. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I still think they're going to be fine. You got Josh Allen. They'll be fine. We need to blow out teams, and defense needs to step up top three. Your thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury to possibly come to Baltimore as the offensive coordinator? I'm not too high on Cliff Kingsbury being our offensive coordinator. He's been one hell of an offensive coordinator. Again, when he was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, he wasn't great as a head coach as a Cardinal, but Kyler Murray had some of his best seasons under Cliff. And of course, we saw what he did with Jaden Daniels his rookie year. So I think he is a great offensive mind, and he's best at the offensive coordinator position as opposed to being a head coach. But I don't know if I feel like he'd be the best fit here. However, if that is what Lamar wants, which again people are speculating, I don't know if that the reports are true. But if the reports are true and Lamar does want him, then you go get Cliff Kingsbury because that's who Lamar wants. If Lamar wants that to be his offensive coordinator, you go and get him. That's just my mindset. Glad the Ravens didn't choose Kevin Stefanski. He showed poor judgment by putting Dylan over Shador. They weren't gonna get Kevin Stefanski. They had no interest in doing that. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. I'm being called on. All right, sorry about that. Let's get through some more of these questions. What was I? Yeah, Cliff. I wouldn't be my choice, but if Lamar in the offense wants him, by all means. But it wouldn't be my choice. Glad the Ravens didn't choose Cam Stefanski. Yeah, again, that would have been a bad choice. Think he was a choice all along, and we got smokescreen. Potentially, potentially, potentially. Um, Chris Shula is who I went with the Steelers. Either him or Nathan Shoehouse. I don't know if you're gonna get Nathan. Whoever is the offensive coordinator needs to have a big role and voice in the organization. They can't be a puppet offense coordinator like Kansas City or other teams. We'll see how it goes, man. I want him to bring back that old school defense. We'll see how that goes. Can Minter work under pressure in the playoffs? Well, his defense has shown up under pressure in the playoffs. It's just been the offense that hasn't shown up the Chargers. Derrick Henry's fine still, but I draft a backup running back. That probably have to be a late round pick. I wouldn't do that early round. Zach Orr is technically still there, but I mean, not really. I mean, we know the coaching staff's gone. I say if we aren't number one in run defense and number one pass defense in the NFL, then I don't want it. Again, we have to see how this goes as a whole. How effective is the defense? I don't think the Bills get Kubiak. I think they're looking more towards a Joe Brady or a Brian Dable. That was the Eagles in 2024. Didn't have to put up many points. Yeah, they just dominated with their defense. I can't trust Buffalo, especially with the Terry Pagula. He felt like a Dan Snyder, potentially. I want a better offensive lineman and a great edge pass rusher and a superstar wide receiver and great cornerback because Humphrey is getting there in age. That's asking for a lot in one off season. You're not gonna get all of that in one off season. He's not gonna get that all in one off season. He's just not. What's your gut feeling? How many years will Minter last if you had to guess ceiling? I mean, if he works out, he's gonna essentially. My gut feeling is that he's going to be here as long as Steve's gonna be here as the owner. Steve's not gonna own this team much longer. Like he said, he doesn't want to have to. I guarantee you, he does not want this to be the owner of this team going into his 80s. He does not want that. He like you said, he wants to win a couple Super Bowls and get the hell out. So he's not looking to be the owner of this team for long, and he's not passing it down within the family. So probably within the next 5 to 10 years, expect to see Steve sell the team, which means I think for at least for the most part, depending on how Jesse does, 5 to 10 years will probably be his time limit, or at least range of how long he could potentially last. If he ends up being a fantastic head coach, he can go past 10 years. But that's something a new owner would have to deal with, not something Steve would have to deal with. This is going to be the last hire that Steve makes. So yeah. I do like how he was coaching players. We didn't have that with John. I mean, this is what it is. Biscotti and EDC gave him 5 years, so it seems like they believe in him. We'll see. We will see how things ultimately go. We will see how things ultimately go. In 2027, I think Seattle and Baltimore play. Whoever wins that game we will know who is a better coach between McDonald and Minter, and we'll see. I mean, in a perfect world, that would be the case. But you know, it is what it is. Some Atlanta fans aren't happy with hiring Stefanski. Oh, trust me, they've been very, very vocal with that. They've been very vocal with that. Whoever goes to the Raiders will get a great quarterback in Fernando Mendoza coming from an IU fan. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how things go. We'll see. Ravens fans aren't scared. Kubiak will go to Buffalo. Even if he goes there, it doesn't fix their defense. And they've got more than one problem that they need to deal with. So, I mean, he could go there. It's not going to change much. They already have a great offense. Their problem is their defense can't stop a nosebleed in key situations. So, getting him wouldn't change anything. I'm not high on McCarthy. Maybe it's a stint in Dallas, but I'm more on Shula, Flores, or Kubiak. Yeah, I mean, whoever the Steelers are going to get. That seems like the Steelers may want to go McCarthy, but I don't know. I don't know what the Steelers are thinking there. I do not know what the Steelers' moves are going to be in this aspect. Late to the stream, what offensive coordinator do you prefer? Give me Nathan Sheehouse. Give me Nathan Sheehouse. I think that would be the offensive coordinator I would want. Obviously, I want Mike McDaniel, but he's not about to leave the job for the Chargers to come here. So give me Nathan She has. I'll take that. I don't disagree, bro. Linderbaum and LJ contracts are top priority right now. We gotta get a lot of those things settled right now. Wasn't he with Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, then with the Chargers? Yeah, like I said, Minter's more of a Jim Harbaugh coaching tree than the John Harbaugh coaching tree. If you think Jim and John are the same type of coach, I don't know what to tell you. Bo Nix wasn't hurt, I'd say Denver. Yeah, I mean, I'm sticking with my Denver pick. It is what it is. My personal pick for our coordinators would be Thomas Brown for OC and Jonathan Gannon for DC. We'll see what choices they make. At the end of the day, Minter has a tall task here, so let's see what he ultimately does. If McDonald wins the Super Bowl, Kubiak will be free to go anywhere. Dude, if they lose on Sunday, he's still going to be free to go wherever he wants. So it is what it is. Do the players want Cliff or Kubiak for offense coordinators? I don't know what the players want. We can't answer that. That's something the players will have to answer. And they won't give us a direct answer when it comes to that, so we don't even know. Ravens fans saying Minter's not proven as if he hadn't won a chip in Michigan. Yeah, what it is with that. Let's see here. A lot of this was when we were talking basketball. I was pretty much following with that. I wish we would have gotten, or wish we could have gotten McDaniel as offensive coordinator. Yeah, it was too late. Chargers got him before we did. So, you know, it is what it is for the most part. He better bring that grit and dog back. He has to. Cliff Kingsbury was decent as the Cardinals coach. I think Kyler Murray just wasn't the guy. Again, I'm not high on Cliff as a head coach, but again, offensively, he's been a good offensive coordinator no matter where he's gone. It is what it is. He's here now. Let's win, hopefully. Bring in a great offensive coordinator, please, because he'll bring in a good defensive coordinator. We'll see how things go. We will see how things go. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. I am going to head out of here. I appreciate every single one of you guys for pulling up to the stream, but I do have some things I do ultimately have to take care of. I appreciate each and every single one of you for pulling up to the stream. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for interacting in the chat. The Ravens got their new head coach, and his name is Jesse Minter. Now, whatever happens moving forward. Whatever they choose to go with is whatever they choose to go with. We will see how things progress for the Ravens, and whoever they choose to bring in is whoever they choose to bring in. And we will ultimately go from there. So we'll be back in terms of talking about this. We'll definitely be back talking about this. In terms of tomorrow, unless anything crazy happens with the offensive coordinator or defense, unless we get something crazy like, oh, they somehow, Mike McDaniel changed his mind. He wants to be the offensive coordinator for the Ravens. Unless something crazy like that happens, tomorrow we'll be here to give we'll be here to discuss the AFC and the NFC championship games and give our predictions. You guys already know who I'm picking, but I'll go into depth as to why I'm choosing who I'm choosing, as well as I'm going to do my very best to give some motivation to the Denver Broncos, because I have been by their corner for the last 3 months, and I'm going to hype them up as much as I can. So we'll see how things go there ultimately. But that's pretty much it for me here. Also, in case anyone didn't know, there's going to be, we assume, according to the weather, there's supposed to be a huge storm that's happening this weekend. Might cut the power out. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I'm going to be streaming the championship games this weekend. At some point, the power is just going to cut off. And I don't even think I'm going to get... I just know it's just not going to happen. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, but if the storm's as bad as they're predicting, there's no way I'm streaming the championship games. I might not even be able to watch it, so I don't know how things are going to go there. But yeah, it's going to be that type of situation here. But we'll speak more on that tomorrow, and hopefully the storm isn't that bad this weekend. We'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for pulling up to the stream. And that is pretty much it for me. I will see you guys later. Talk to you tomorrow. With that being said, everybody in the chat, be sure to stay safe and peace out. Good night, everybody.